Your Excellency, Mr. Kitak Lim, Secretary General of the International Organization, Mr. Jan Dusic, Director of Europe Office, the United Nations Environment Programme, Honorable Dr. José Herrera, Minister for Sustainable Development, the Environment and Climate Change, the Honorable Joe Mitzi, Minister for Transport and Infrastructure, and the Honorable Dr. George Vella, Minister for Foreign Affairs. Thank you for joining us, and I will invite you to join the stage for the opening session, which will then be followed by a ministerial session, which will be chaired with the rest of the meeting by the Honorable Dr. George Vella. So if you want to join the stage, thank you very much. So, Your Excellency, Mr. Kitak Lim, Secretary General of the International Maritime Organization, will now give his keynote address to the meeting.
Excellency Minister Mitch, Excellency Minister Dr. George Vella, and Excellency Minister Dr. José Herrera, and also Minister Richards and Minister Mario Dimitriadis, and the distinguished delegates, and ladies and gentlemen. It is great a pleasure to be here today at the beginning of the event to mark 40th anniversary of the REMPEC, a vitally important but often unsung player in the battle to protect one of the world's most sensitive and vulnerable sea area. The Mediterranean represents about 1% of the world sea area. But although it is relatively small, but this is one of the most important international waters on our planet. As one of the cradles of ancient civilization, it has been subject to human intervention for thousands of years. Today, more than 20 nations have a Mediterranean coastline. Mediterranean coast cities are home to more than 80 million people, and this figure is set to increase substantially in the coming years. Every summer, over 100 million tourists flock to the Mediterranean beaches and this sea area. This number is expected to double by 2025. The Mediterranean Sea is also a major thoroughfare for international shipping, with the Suez Canal at its eastern end and providing a strategic link between East and the West that serves thousands of vessels every year. It provides food, work, and pleasure for millions of people and support more than 10,000 species, many of them endangered nowadays. But landlocked and under extreme pressure from human activities, the warm waters of the Mediterranean Sea find it hard to clean and renew themselves. This is not an area of the sea which recovers easily from pollution, damage, or exploitation, which is why it is so important that we take active steps to protect this sea area, from the pressure we put it under, and why it is such a great pleasure to offer the Regional Marine Pollution Emergency Response Center for the Mediterranean Sea, or REMPEC. My sincere congratulations on reaching its 40th anniversary. The center's contribution in assisting Mediterranean coastal states to build up their national prevention and preparedness and response capability to prevent and respond to major marine pollution incidents certainly deserves to be celebrated. More than that, its role in helping to facilitate cooperation between countries to prevent and respond to marine pollution should also be acknowledged and appreciated. In 1976, when the center was established under the United Nations interagency project between UNEP and IMO, the center's mandate was firmly focused on assisting the contracting parties of the Barcelona Convention to prepare for and deal with oil spill caused by ships. The Regional Oil Combating Center, in short ROCC, as it was then called, was the first regional center of its kind. It became known as REMPEC in 1989, following the extension of its mandate to include hazardous substances other than oil. Since then, it has contributed significantly to the development and the strengthening of the Mediterranean states' capability to prevent and deal with marine pollution incidents. Today, the center's remit extends beyond dealing with accidental oil spills to much broader mandate to work collaboratively with the Mediterranean states to prevent and combat pollution in all forms. The center's work today addresses pollution from oil and hazardous and noxious substance, surveillance for possible illegal operational discharge, ballast water discharge, emission from ships, and anti-fouling system. It is also working with the countries to ensure the provision of adequate port reception facilities in the main ports around the Mediterranean Sea area. Another important part of its work is to help coordinate efforts to build the capability in national maritime administration to prepare for and deal with the pollution from ships. And this includes developing the legislative and the administrative frameworks needed at the national level. The network of protection for the Mediterranean Sea, encompassing prevention, preparedness, and the response function, is highly appreciated by all IMO member states and indeed the wider maritime communities. And through the effectiveness of its mandate and the work, REMPEC has become a model for the establishment of a similar center in other regions of the world. A key characteristic of the REMPEC success story during the past 40 years has been cooperation. REMPEC itself is operated under and financed by contracting parties to the Barcelona Convention within the framework of the Mediterranean Action Plan of the Regional Seas Program of UNEP. Administered and technically supported by IMO through an agreement with the UNEP, REMPEC is a prime example of a close cooperation between two United Nations bodies working together to protect and preserve the environment. I should like to take this opportunity to thank UNEP for its strong cooperation with the IMO in this and other projects as well. The European Commission and the European Maritime Safety Agency, EMSA, have also been strong and supportive collaborators of REMPEC. And once again, I would like to offer them my thanks and appreciation. IMO is justifiably proud of the role it played in helping to set up REMPEC and of its continuing work in administering the center. The link between the IMO and the REMPEC remained very strong, with the IMO making extensive use of the center for the implementation of activities under the organization's Integrated Technical Cooperation Program. Going forward, IMO is committed in its support for the center, and I would like to extend my appreciation to all 22 contracting parties, and especially to the center host country, the government of Malta. Also, my special thanks goes to the Secretariat of the REMPEC for their hard work and the devotion to date. As I mentioned a moment ago, throughout the past 40 years, REMPEC has become something of a role model for other regional centers which have been inspired by the center's setup and the programs. This should be a source of a great pride, not only for REMPEC, but all affiliated bodies, sponsors, government, and individuals. So my congratulations to REMPEC and all those involved in the work of the center. As we celebrate this important landmark, it is impossible to imagine that your work will ever be finished. And I'm sure that REMPEC will now look to the next 40 years and continue its valuable efforts to improve cooperation in the Mediterranean to prevent and combat marine pollutions. I know, and also I was told, there is no serious instance in that area for the past few years. But as you know from the major incidents which took place in the past years around the world, as you know well, we have to be ready, we have to be well prepared to properly respond to any possible serious pollution instance, which may, we do not we do not hope those things would happen, but who knows, we have to be prepared. So in that sense, I believe, again, the role and the contribution of REMPEC has been great in terms of preserving and protecting marine environment in this very vulnerable Mediterranean Sea. And just before here, we were on board a oil combating response ships, which is governed by the EMSA, and it was quite informative and useful to look around. And also it was very nice to see the very well-developed technology in terms of how to respond to oil spill incidents. And also it was a very impressive to hear that good communication, collaboration between the EMSA and the littoral countries and REMPEC in terms of the organization and how to respond to the possible incident cases in the future. So I really appreciate those efforts done by all relevant stakeholders. So, and also I would like to enhance good or better communication and cooperation between IMO and REMPEC and EMSA as well. Also really appreciate again the government of Malta hosting this kind of the activities to celebrate the 40th anniversary of the REMPEC. So I believe there has been a lot of the effort, a lot of the concern provided by the government of Malta to development, enhancing activities of REMPEC, so I really appreciate. And I wish you present here all the best, every success. So I hope see you sometime later at other occasion. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you very much, Secretary General, for your keynote address. We will now invite Mr. Jan Dusic, Director of Europe Office of the United Nations Environment Programme. Thank you.
Honorable Minister Dr. Jose Herrera, Minister for Sustainable Development, the Environment and Climate Change of Malta, Honorable Minister Joe Mitzi, the Minister of Transport and Infrastructure of Malta, and Honorable Dr. George Vella, the Minister of Foreign Affairs of Malta, Mr. Kitak Lim, the Secretary General of the International Maritime Organization, Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, dear guests. It is a great honor and pleasure to welcome you warmly on behalf of the UN Environment to this high-level meeting for the celebrations of the REMPEC's 40th anniversary. Administered by the International Maritime Organization in the framework of a long-standing and successful cooperation that the Secretary General referred to with UN Environment, hosted and strongly supported by the Government of Malta, REMPEC, under the guidance of the Conference of Parties to the Barcelona Convention and its protocols, has grown over the last 40 years as a center of excellence to foster regional cooperation and support the Mediterranean countries to successfully cope with the challenges of pollution, prevention and control from the sea-based activities and the shipping sector. We have come today to jointly celebrate the 40th anniversary of REMPEC after celebrating some months ago the 40th anniversary of the Mediterranean Action Plan and of its Barcelona Convention. The UN Environment, establishing its Regional Seas Programme 42 years ago, aimed to support the sustainable management and use of marine and coastal environment and to address effectively the degradation of the world oceans and coastal areas and promote regional cooperation among neighbouring countries in comprehensive and specific actions to protect their shared marine environment. At that time, the major objective was the establishment of regional marine pollution control programs in areas that for geographical, ecological or political reasons were perceived to have common elements and interests. The program has steadily grown and today covers 18 regions of the world, representing virtually all the world's oceans and seas. The Mediterranean was the first ever region to adopt an action plan under the Regional Seas Programme and served as an example for the development of action plans in other regions. The Barcelona Convention and its 7 landmark protocols that lay down in the heart of the Mediterranean Action Plan represent a solid and advanced regional legal framework for the protection of the Mediterranean marine and coastal environment in the context of sustainable development. On the 9th of November 1976, United Nations Environment Programme and International Maritime Organization signed the Memorandum of Understanding concerning cooperation between the two institutions. The areas of mutual interest and cooperation related to pollution incident preparedness, response and cooperation. Since then, IMO and UNEP have contributed to the establishment of various regional centres around the world, including REMPEC, which was the first of its kind and later used as a reference for other regional arrangements. REMPEC doesn't represent only a pioneering and unique experience in the region, but it is also an excellent example of the UN system organizations delivering as one. Let me provide an example of the results of this successful cooperation between UN Environment and IMO. The coordination of the response operations to the Lebanese oil spill of 2006. Indeed, REMPEC set up and coordinated a group of experts to provide immediate advice and technical assistance on response strategy and techniques, to assess resources requirement, and to elaborate the €50 million anti-pollution action plan adopted at the international meeting convened and attended by our Executive Director and the Secretary General of IMO in August 2006. This effort was coordinated with the respective competent national authorities in the region, in liaison with the Mediterranean Action Plan, and in close cooperation with UNEP, OCHA, IMO, the European Commission and other partners. This remarkable example of cooperation between the two institutions, as well as a number of everyday stories, prove that the established partnership between UNEP and the International Maritime Organization has been a remarkable success in addressing global concerns at regional level, especially with regards to the need to effectively respond to and to combat pollution from the maritime sector. The importance of this well-established cooperation is reaffirmed by the fact that combating marine pollution is still very high on UNEP's agenda. We have come a long way from the time of its launch, and many achievements can be recalled. Over the decades, REMPEC has evolved from a sectorial approach dealing with very specific and technical issues to an integrated approach in line with the UNEP MAP and UN environment priorities, as agreed in the current UNEP MAP medium-term strategy and several decisions of the contracting parties to the Barcelona Convention and its protocols. Ocean governance, marine pollution, reduction and prevention, and green financing represent high priorities for the UN environment. In May 2016, the second session of the United Nations Environment Assembly of UNEP concluded its work in Nairobi, Kenya. More than 170 countries were represented, of which 120 at ministerial level. That extraordinary meeting of governments has produced a number of resolutions that are an integral part of the global action needed to implement the 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development and the Paris Climate Agreement, which this morning has been formally ratified by the European Union. I would like to briefly highlight here the 4 resolutions of UNEA that deal with oceans and seas. First, on oceans and seas, the governments called for continued cooperation and coordination on marine issues and requested UNEP to step up its work, including through the Regional Seas Programme. Secondly, in relation to the roles, functions and modalities for UNEP implementation of the Samoa pathway as a means of facilitating achievement of the Sustainable Development Goals, the resolution addresses the need for strengthening the UN system to support small island developing states in keeping with the multiple ongoing and emerging challenges faced by those states in achieving sustainable development. Third, on marine plastic litter and microplastics, where the delegates sought the assistance of UNEP to assess the effectiveness of governance strategies and approaches to combat marine plastic litter and microplastics, and to help develop and implement national and regional action plans to target marine litter, with emphasis on those regions that are the largest sources. And last, sustainable coral reefs management. The resolution constitutes a strong call for national, regional and international initiatives, cooperation and commitments to conserve and sustainably manage coral reefs, including cold water coral ecosystems and mangrove forests that contribute to food security and nutrition for people's livelihoods. The new momentum of global commitments to achieve the Sustainable Development Goals and the renewed commitment of UNEP Mediterranean Action Plan Barcelona Convention contracting parties has opened new perspectives for REMPEC to play an instrumental role in further enhancing integration and cooperation for addressing relevant emerging issues and promoting the use of up-to-date tools to enhance capacities of the contracting parties. This is crucial to successfully meet global obligations and international standards related to maritime transport, and, where appropriate, related to non-indigenous species, ships' ballast water management, particularly sensitive sea areas, marine spatial planning for ships' routing systems, control of maritime traffic and waste management in port reception facilities and marinas, including marine litter. This present gathering seems to be the perfect occasion to share the lessons from the past 40 years and to draw together a sustainable Mediterranean region for the future. And as the Secretary General of IMO mentioned, this is the work that is far from being done, and there is still plenty, and the work will be never finished in that sense. But I would like to conclude by wishing a happy anniversary to REMPEC and congratulations to IMO and the UNEP Mediterranean Action Plan. Thank you.
Mr. Dusic, thank you very much for your kind words. I will now invite the Honorable Dr. José Herrera, Minister for Sustainable Development, the Environment and Climate Change of the Government of Malta. Thank you.
Honorable colleagues, Secretary General, Director, Your Excellencies, Ambassadors, Chairmen and CEOs of various important Maltese entities connected with the environment and maritime affairs, and distinguished people present. It gives me great honor to address this important event to celebrate REMPEC's 40th anniversary. Malta is very proud to have hosted this important United Nations institution for 4 decades. And we in the environment sector are especially very proud of REMPEC and its work to help prevent and coordinate combating of marine pollution from ships in the Mediterranean. One must not forget the continued risks posed to our marine environment through pollution as it affects its ecological equilibrium, its resources, and their legitimate uses. We are all aware of the importance of the Mediterranean Sea for global maritime shipping and at the same time of the semi-enclosed nature of this marine region. This renders it more vulnerable to pollution due to its limited water exchange. It is within this context that pollution events are of particular concern to this marine region. Pollution incidents such as oil spills and associated introduction of pollutants in the marine environment are linked to devastating impacts on marine and coastal ecosystems. The Barcelona Convention for the Protection of the Marine Environment and the Coastal Region of the Mediterranean Sea, under which REMPEC falls, is an important convention for Malta due to our maritime vocation and geographic location in the Mediterranean Sea. Indeed, Malta attaches high priority and relevance to all matters concerning the Mediterranean region and believes that environmental cooperation represents a strategic tool to contribute to the overall stability of the Mediterranean region. In this respect, Malta believes that the UNEP/MAP Barcelona system is a unique and valuable cooperation system for the protection of the marine environment in the Mediterranean region. Malta has always been actively supportive of the MAP system, particularly REMPEC, and we continue to highlight the importance of this center to the Mediterranean region. The Mediterranean Action Plan continues to be an important and necessary tool for the protection of the economic, social, health and cultural value of the marine environment of the Mediterranean Sea area. Malta, along with partners, continues to be committed to the preservation of our common heritage for the benefit and enjoyment of present and future generations. In our opinion, close cooperation among the states and international organizations concerned and a coordinated and comprehensive regional approach for the protection and enhancement of marine environment in the Mediterranean Sea area continues to be vital. Over the years, REMPEC has shown its worth as a regional center focusing on combating massive marine pollution by oil through its work on strengthening the capacities of coastal states in the Mediterranean region and facilitating cooperation among them. This by establishing a regional information system to deal with marine pollution emergencies and in later years with a particular focus on preventive measures against pollution from ships. Among REMPEC's achievements, one must mention its assistance for the development of national preparedness systems, its assistance to a group of countries to draft and adopt sub-regional agreements on preparedness and response to spills, assistance to countries in emergency situations, its training programs involving over 3,500 government officials and volunteers, its work on supporting the development of port reception facilities, its assisting to contracting parties in strengthening their legislative framework in order to have dedicated laws for the enforcement of MARPOL in terms of illicit discharges from ships, development of guidance on ballast water management and pollution from private pleasure craft, as well as its more recent work on marine litter in the Mediterranean. In Malta's view, these achievements in the area of capacity building and fostering cooperation between riparian states and the relevant organizations are of the utmost importance for the future. In addition, in terms of assistance to countries in emergency situations through its 24/7 availability, enabling it to be reachable at any time, REMPEC can, on request, assist any contracting parties of the Barcelona Convention in case of an emergency. It can assist not only in the field of marine pollution response techniques, but also in the field of wildlife restoration and the forecasting of pollution drift by means of various partnerships with relevant organizations. Some of these partners indeed provided their services through REMPEC during the oil spill in Lebanon in 2006 and on several other occasions. Furthermore, REMPEC acts as a regional focal point in case of regional and international assistance. It's coordinated at regional level the assistance provided to Lebanon after the 2006 Eastern Mediterranean oil spill and was involved in 2010 during the Deepwater Horizon oil spill in the Gulf of Mexico, acting as the regional entity to gather information on available response means that could be used in the response operation. It is for these reasons that Malta would like to show its great appreciation for the ongoing excellent work of REMPEC over the years. And I would like to take this opportunity to personally thank the present and past directors and staff of REMPEC for their outstanding work and commitment. In Malta's view, REMPEC should continue to exercise its role in achieving a coherent and coordinated approach towards preventing and combating accidental pollution within the Mediterranean region. Within this context, REMPEC would facilitate regional cooperation across countries who would work together to prevent the deterioration of the environmental status of the Mediterranean region as a result of pollution incidents. This would not only achieve the requirements of the 2002 Prevention and Emergency Protocol and of the Offshore Protocol, but also the overall goals of the Barcelona Convention to protect and improve the marine environment in the Mediterranean. At national level, Malta is implementing a number of measures to ensure the protection of marine areas from ships and maritime activities pollution. For example, an environmental permitting system is in place to regulate commercial establishments with the potential to cause marine pollution, which places conditions on how to mitigate this risk. In addition, Malta's waste management plan also caters for waste derived from such incidents. However, we must not lose sight of the need to make regional cooperation and governance mechanisms more effective in the context of the 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development, which acknowledges the important role of regional and sub-regional frameworks to facilitate the effective translation of sustainable development policies into concrete action at the national level. In this respect, Malta reiterates its support for the implementation of the revised Mediterranean Strategy for Sustainable Development, which was reviewed during the 2013-2015 biennium when Malta held the presidency of the Mediterranean Commission on Sustainable Development and adopted earlier this year during the Conference of the Parties for the Barcelona Convention in Athens. The strategy adapts the Sustainable Development Goals, SDGs, to a Mediterranean context, and Malta believes that it is an invaluable tool for implementing the SDGs in a regional framework in an integrated and holistic way. In conclusion, in view of its important role in fostering the protection of the Mediterranean Sea from pollution in line with the Global 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development, I augur that REMPEC continues to render its excellent services to the region in the years ahead. Thank you.
Dr. Jose Herrera, thank you for your words. I will now invite the Honorable Mr. Joy Mitzi, Minister for Transport and Infrastructure of the Government of Malta, for his keynote address.
Mr. Secretary General, fellow ministers and distinguished guests, greetings. As Minister responsible for transport, on behalf of the Maltese government, proud host of REMPEC, I warmly welcome you to Malta. As a former seafarer, on behalf of Maritime Malta, I extend our congratulations to REMPEC on this symbolic milestone, the celebration of the 40th anniversary from its setting up. I would like to begin my short intervention by paying tribute to the many men and women behind the success story of REMPEC. Their dedications reflects their conviction that the prevention of preparedness for and response to marine pollution in the Mediterranean are of paramount importance for the survival of many people living around this important enclosed sea. This immediately brings to the fore the critical importance of the need to take to the word the indispensable role of the shipping industry, without which our daily lives would be unsustainable. Malta once again reiterates its full support to the theme of this year's World Maritime Day. My government has recognized the indispensable role that the shipping industry has to the island and the added value it generates in Malta's economy. Malta has increasingly become aware of the fact that sea's relevance is not only limited to their exploitation for commercial and communications purposes, but goes as far as to affect the very survival of the human and other species on land. This will not be possible if we have polluted seas. This is where REMPEC plays a very important role. REMPEC is to make sure that littoral states of the Mediterranean coordinate their efforts towards further strengthening their capacities with a view to abating, combating, and to the fullest extent eliminating pollution of the marine environment. Our support for the global approach to IMO goes on the same pace with our appreciation of the importance of regional cooperation. This is evidenced by our commitment to the Mediterranean Action Plan established under the Barcelona Convention. I am extremely proud to witness the anniversary of this prestigious institution, which for 40 years has served as a beacon for many government advisors, experts, diplomats, and many others engaged in the maritime industry to enhance their knowledge and to be prepared to combat pollution in the Mediterranean Sea, given their contribution to strengthen the cooperation among Mediterranean countries. REMPEC was established and sustained in Malta thanks to the strong will and the enlightened interest of successive Maltese governments to establish Malta as a center of maritime excellence, and in giving our contribution for making a difference in the maritime sector. Our belief and continuous commitment in supporting technical cooperation projects and in tirelessly serving the maritime community with the global aim to preserve the seas as a common heritage of mankind for the next generations makes Malta proud of its close association with the vision that was REMPEC and with the realization of that vision. The Maltese government has been there from the very early days, and not only has its support not faltered, but it has increased over the years. We are firmly committed to continue affording REMPEC our unfaltering support for the benefit of the Mediterranean Sea and its littoral states. In conclusion, I started this presentation with words of greetings from the government of Malta and from Maritime Malta. I shall end with a solemn reiteration of Malta's support via MoFilm and the belief that it is this organization that should lead the program for safer and more secure shipping and cleaner oceans, and of Malta's support for REMPEC, firm in the belief of the great benefits of regional cooperation in the Mediterranean for the benefit of its littoral states and their people. Ad multos annos REMPEC.
Thank you very much, Sir Joe Mizzi. I will now invite the Honorable Dr. George Vella, Minister for Foreign Affairs of the Government of Malta, who will also be the chairperson for this meeting.
Honourable colleagues, Mr. Secretary General, Excellencies, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. The 40th anniversary of the establishment of the Regional Oil Combating Centre, as it used to be known, the ROCC, the precursor of the present Regional Marine Pollution Emergency Response Centre for the Mediterranean, which we are calling REMPEC, here in Malta, is an occasion that warrants special commemoration. I am immensely pleased of REMPEC's commitment towards the achievement of the goals set by the international maritime community. Today's event puts under the limelight this world-class regional center, specializing in combating accidental marine pollution, mostly from hydrocarbons, and operating for the past 40 years, fully committed to Mediterranean maritime cooperation. 1976 was 9 years after the Torrey Canyon had spilled 121,000 tons of Kuwaiti crude oil after grounding on the Scilly Islands. Hundreds of kilometers of English and French coast suffered serious pollution, with huge environmental and ecological as well as economic damage. In those 9 intervening years, many maritime disasters happened. Landmark events that sensitized the conscience of the international community. Enough to mention just a few: the Spiros Lemnos, the Polycommander, Sabine, Donna Marica, Universe Leader, Jacob Merckx, Olympic Alliance, and others, to be followed then by the Pacific Glory in 1976, by the Orquiola and the Berlin maritime disasters. The next major disaster was that of the Amoco Cadets in March 98, spilling a record 228,000 tons of light Arab and Iranian crude on the Brittany coast. This last event was the largest maritime pollution disaster ever. Thankfully, no disasters of such magnitude happened in the Mediterranean. However, the Mediterranean also had its fair share of shipping accidents, with the then ROCC reporting in its early years of 6 cases in 1977, 11 in 1978, 10 cases in 1979, and 12 cases in 1980, between collisions, groundings, damage, wrong maneuvers, and other causes of accidents. The earliest modern international convention for the protection of pollution of the sea by oil goes back to the 1954 London Convention. Legislation followed to cover other aspects of marine pollution, such as from dumping of wastes and from land-based sources, and covering different regions, such as the Nordic Sea, with the Nordic Agreement, the Baltic Sea, and other agreements. It was in 1976 that the Barcelona Convention for the Protection of the Mediterranean Sea against pollution was agreed to. It was from the plan for action of this convention that the then ROCC, the first of its kind in the world, was conceived. Our country's commitment towards a world of nations governed by principles of mutual cooperation and understanding, and underpinned by the rule of law, has been prominently manifested throughout our history. Malta's initiatives within the United Nations on issues relating to the environment are well known. One such major contribution is exemplified by the seminal concepts relating to the seas and the seabed as part of the common heritage of mankind, pioneered at the time by Dr. Arvet Pardo, Malta's former UN ambassador. This proposal, presented on the 1st of November 1967, spearheaded a treaty to prevent an arms race under the sea, dealing with the dangers of a potential competitive scramble for oil, minerals, and other underwater riches. A law of the sea as we know it today would eventually materialize in 1982. Under the United Nations Convention on the Law of the Sea, known as UNCLOS, participating states are bound to protect and preserve the marine environment and shall take measures to prevent, reduce, and control all types of pollution of the marine environment. Indeed, REMPEC is the embodiment of this general obligation. Since 1976, ROCC and then REMPEC has supported Mediterranean states in combating oil pollution ever since. Celebrating 40 years since its inception also means celebrating 40 years of achievement. The Centre's original mandate to strengthen the capacities of coastal states in the Mediterranean and to assist in combating marine pollution by oil has been broadened over the years to address also other sources of pollution that could threaten the Mediterranean. Through its work towards developing and bolstering national capacities to combat pollution, mostly by hydrocarbons, and the establishment of a regional information center to deal with marine pollution emergencies, REMPEC has built itself a solid reputation in the field. As I have already mentioned, this year also marks the 40th anniversary of the Barcelona Convention, which, together with the Mediterranean Action Plan, represents one of the most advanced legal regimes for regional cooperation and the framework under which REMPEC operates. Within the MAP system, the first ever regional agreement under the United Nations Environment Programme, REMPEC has constantly reiterated its call in preventing and responding to marine pollution from ships. Excellencies, taking this opportunity, Malta would like to express its appreciation for the work conducted by REMPEC, operating under UNEP, MAP, and the International Maritime Organization, in its mandate to protect the marine environment. In this regard, the Government of Malta will continue steadfastly to support REMPEC in its regional mission in the years to come. For an island state like Malta, the sea has always been our vocation. The Mediterranean and our maritime activities have ultimately shaped and steered our relations with our neighbours and with Mediterranean friends. All of this comes at a key moment for the Mediterranean and Europe. As we celebrate this 40th anniversary, let us recall the importance of regional cooperation to ensure a sustainable and healthy Mediterranean that we can confidently and responsibly pass on to future generations. Thank you very much.
Honorable George Vella, thank you very much for your intervention. So we will now move to the next session, which will be chaired by Minister George Vella, and I will invite our keynote speakers to join the floor whilst we will project a video. So you will see the video and before we start the next session. And I will invite all the next intervention for the ministerial session, but also in the panel discussion to keep the timing, as we have a very short timing, so I will appreciate your understanding. And in the meantime, we'll project the video. Thank you very much.
With 46,000 kilometers of coastline, the Mediterranean Sea is the world's largest semi-enclosed sea. It is one of the 46,000 kilometers of coastline, the Mediterranean Sea is the world's largest semi-enclosed sea. It is one of the 25 first biodiversity hotspots in the world. The Mediterranean Sea is an economic area which has been highly used by human beings for many millennia. Traditional activities as maritime transport is constantly increasing, and traffic is duplicating every 25 years. The Mediterranean Sea has known a rapid oil and gas offshore development. More recently, the Blue Growth Strategy, initiated by the European Commission, promotes new, sustainable uses of this area. In 1975, the Mediterranean Sea was the first area in the world adopting an action plan under the United Nations Environment Programme. UNEP-MAP has quickly been followed in 1976 by the adoption of the Convention for the Protection of the Mediterranean Sea Against Pollution. This convention, named the Barcelona Convention, entered into force in 1978 and preceded a set of 7 protocols. REMPEC is one of the 6 regional activity centres of UNEP-MAP. Created in December 1976 as a regional oil combating centre, it has been renamed Regional Marine Pollution Emergency Response Centre for the Mediterranean Sea. The mission of REMPEC is to assist the contracting parties in meeting their obligations of the Barcelona Convention in the framework of the protocol concerning cooperation in preventing pollution from ships and, in cases of emergency, combating pollution of the Mediterranean Sea. Recently, REMPEC's mission was extended to the Protocol for the Protection of the Mediterranean Sea against pollution resulting from exploration and exploitation of the continental shelf and the seabed and its subsoil. For that purpose, the Centre performs several actions of preventing and combating pollution. REMPEC plays a key part in the Mediterranean area. Among the milestones realised by the Centre during these last 40 years are: assist coastal states of the Mediterranean region which so request in the development of their national capabilities for response to pollution incidents, facilitate cooperation among them in case of a major marine pollution incident thanks to the Mediterranean Assistant Unit, perform information exchange and dissemination, develop skills and training, reinforce maritime administrative efficiency, monitor and control illicit discharges from ships. REMPEC is committed to the implementation of the 2016 to 2021 Regional Strategy for the Prevention of and Response to Marine Pollution from Ships. REMPEC will continue to work with various international, European, regional, sub-regional, public and private institutions who are ambitious to protect the Mediterranean Sea. As it has done in the past 40 years, REMPEC looks forward positively to work even harder for the protection and preservation of the Mediterranean Sea in the many years to come.
Thank you very much. Sorry for the small technical problems, but I hope the message has passed and we had an enjoyable moment with this 3-minute short introduction on REMPEC and its achievements. And I would like now to invite the Honorable Dr. George Vella, Minister for Foreign Affairs, to chair the next session, which will be the ministerial session. So, George Vella.
So as not to stay here, I have no problem. Okay, thank you very much. We pass on now to the next session in our conference, and this is the ministerial session of the high-level meeting, which provides an opportunity for Mediterranean coastal states to discuss their individual and collective achievements and to address together the challenges related to prevention of and response to marine pollution from ships and from exploration and exploitation of the continental shelf and the seabed and its subsoil. So now I invite ministers and heads of delegation to intervene from the floor. I kindly ask you to try and limit yourselves to interventions of not more than 2 minutes. I have a list of countries which I'll be calling in order of inscription, and I will start by calling the Honourable Mr. Izmir Jusko, Minister of Communications and Transport from Bosnia-Herzegovina. Either from there or from the floor.
General Secretary, Ministers, Excellency, delegates, ladies and gentlemen. It's my big pleasure to be here, and in the next couple of minutes I'll give you some more information, actually short information about the situation when you're talking about this topic in Bosnia and Herzegovina. The only way for Bosnia and Herzegovina to access to Adriatic Sea is the municipality Neum in the total length of coastline and 24.5 kilometers. Neum is also called the natural port and the only seaside municipality in Bosnia and Herzegovina. The sea border between Bosnia and Herzegovina and Croatia is located in the Middle East between Klek Peninsula and the Pelješac Peninsula, which means that the Bosnia-Herzegovina Sea is surrounded by Croatian territorial waters, and Bosnia-Herzegovina cut Croatian coastline in two parts. The only possible access to territorial sea of Bosnia-Herzegovina to open Adriatic Sea is through the Croatian waters. The total length of sea border is about 16 kilometers. It is important to emphasize that Neum is a tourist destination, very popular tourist destination who growing up 45% in the last 2 years. He is properly slowed to issue of west waters by applying regional system of Komarna-Neum-Mljet channel, providing maritime zone with the long-term protection against pollution. Also, a small number of vessels entering and staying in maritime zone, which has led only one incident in the last 20 years, fire on the yacht. Potential pollution of the waters is possible in the Neretva River due to frequent flooding in the recent times. Such contamination would first contaminate the sea in Croatian waters, and only later, depending on the weather, would come to the pollution of other waters. In event of large-scale maritime pollution, the assistance of Croatia is required. There are signed agreement between Council of Ministers of Bosnia and Herzegovina and the Croatian government on cooperation in this area of protection from natural and man-made disasters. Similar situation is anticipated in the event of sea pollution by oil derivatives or chemical substance. Expectation from the REMPEC. As I mentioned earlier, REMPEC as the implementing partners has consciously contributed in upgrading the knowledge and skills of maritime authority personnel and assist in better understanding and harmonization of international standards and regulation. As we are just about to begin establishing the efficient administration on state level, assistance is required in order to prepare an appropriate system of the development, reconstruction and revitalization of waterway and navigation, and to prepare domestic legislation by adopting the relevant convention and regulation. It's also necessary to make future efforts in order to accept international rules and regulation in terms of special measures to exchange maritime safety and security at sea, in line with International Convention for Safety of Life in Sea and International Ship and Port Facility Security Code. Long-term vision will be our focus. We are not a big country and our coastline is not big, but we want to invest and protect our sea. Summit like this will help us to exchange information and hear new information, will help us to be effective and efficient in the future. And one more time, thank you, organization. Thank you on great organization, and it will be our pleasure to be part of this project. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Honourable Minister. Now I call on the Honourable Mr. Marius Demetriades, Minister of Transport, Communications and Works from Cyprus.
Fellow ministers, ambassadors, distinguished representatives, ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Secretary General of the IMO. Firstly, I would like to express my personal and my government's sincere thanks for the opportunity to participate in the 40th anniversary of REMPEC, a center under the Barcelona Convention that has contributed significantly not only in the protection of the Mediterranean, but also in bringing together our countries to a common cause, which is, of course, the protection of our sea. The environmental challenges we'll face, especially in the Mediterranean Sea, are many and can only be tackled via concentrated and coordinated efforts. In this aspect, REMPEC plays a vital role in acting as a catalyst, as well as being the center through which the necessary collaboration can be achieved. The Mediterranean Sea, being an important sea route, had always been in danger from pollution. However, the recent discovery of natural gas in the Eastern Mediterranean poses additional dangers. Its financial benefits come part and parcel with the responsibility to protect the Mediterranean Sea from pollution. Environmental impacts and safety issues may arise at all stages of oil and gas activities, including initial exploration, production, and final decommissioning. There is a broad range of environmental concerns, including those relating to all discharges from routine operations, the use and discharge of chemicals, accidental spills, drill cuttings, and the placement of installations and pipelines on the seabed. And the truth of the matter is that the economy of our countries relies heavily on the sea and tourism. We therefore need to take all necessary measures from the very beginning in order to protect our marine environment from mismanagement of offshore drilling activities and hydrocarbon transportation, whether that is carried out by pipelines or ships. The Barcelona Convention and its protocols for the protection of the Mediterranean, to which Cyprus, as well as all other Mediterranean countries, are members, is a solid legal instrument that can be used in order to achieve the regional cooperation that is necessary to deal with the potential threats to the environment. Cyprus, being particularly active in Barcelona Convention and fully aware that the discovery and utilization of hydrocarbons in its exclusive economic zone region is a potential threat to the environment, considers imperative that regional cooperation is essential in dealing with all pollution incidents that could easily be beyond the technical and capabilities of our country. Based on this principle, last April, a trilateral declaration of intent was signed between Cyprus, Greece, and Israel on the protection of the environment, focusing on marine pollution from hydrocarbons. Having signed the agreement, the three countries sought the assistance of REMPEC in developing a sub-regional contingency plan based on the new realities, which include hydrocarbon exploitation. I have to say that the response of REMPEC, as well as the Secretariat of the Convention, which I deeply thank, was immediate and positive. Furthermore, REMPEC, with the technical assistance of ITOP, supported the revision of the National Contingency Plan of Cyprus, which will be adopted soon. Dear friends, the Regional Marine Pollution Emergency Response Center does not need to be advertised. It has proved itself over the last 40 years. However, as I indicated above, the emerging challenges in the Mediterranean, which are many, and therefore every assistance should be given to REMPEC, financial as well as human resources, so that it can continue its role and be the link for achieving close cooperation between all countries, north and south, as well as the European Commission and its institutions. Mediterranean Sea is the cradle of civilization and has been offering its blessings to humanity for thousands of years. We now know that the people of the Mediterranean have also been blessed with hydrocarbons, a natural resource valuable for their economies. It is up to us to use this blessing with wisdom and humility in order to ensure the well-being of our people and use it to build bridges of peace and mutual respect between nations while ensuring that we protect the unique environment and biodiversity of our sea for the generations to come. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you, Honourable Minister. Now I call on the Honourable Mr. Theodoros Dritsas, Minister of Maritime Affairs and Insular Policy from Greece.
Honorable Secretary General of IMO, Honorable Ministers, Honorable Head of Office of REMPEC, ladies and gentlemen, I'm sorry, but it's better for me to speak in Greek. Θα προσπαθήσω να περιορίσω την ομιλία μου όπως ζητήθηκε στα 2 λεπτά περίπου και μπαίνω αμέσως στο θέμα.
I will try to limit myself to 2 minutes of speaking time.
Αποτελεί για μένα ξεχωριστή τιμή να απευθύνομαι στο ακροατήριο αυτό με την ευκαιρία της 40ης επετείου από την ίδρυση του REMPEC.
It is a great honor for me to address such a distinguished audience on the occasion of the 14th anniversary of REMPEC.
40 χρόνια το REMPEC πράγματι επιτελεί ένα ιδιαίτερα σημαντικό έργο, εκπληρώνει με επιτυχία το ρόλο του στην υιοθέτηση υψηλών περιβαλλοντικών προτύπων για τη βιώσιμη ανάπτυξη της ευρύτερης περιοχής της Μεσογείου θαλάσσης.
Over the last 4 decades, the Regional Marine Pollution Emergency Response Center for the Mediterranean Sea has increasingly played a prominent role in the adoption of standards for the protection of the Mediterranean Sea, thereby effectively accomplishing its significant role.
Η συστηματική προώθηση στενής συνεργασίας ανάμεσα στα κράτη που περιβάλλουν τη Μεσόγειο και η ενθάρρυνση κοινών δράσεων είναι στο κέντρο της προσπάθειας και των ενεργειών του REMPEC.
Promoting the close cooperation between Mediterranean states and encouraging joint activities, such as workshops or capacity-building programs, can be the key to succeed our goal for a clean, healthy and sustainable marine environment.
Η υποστήριξη του REMPEC στα μεσογειακά κράτη αντανακλάται απόλυτα σε πολλά πεδία και ένα από αυτά, και θέλω ιδιαίτερα να το επισημάνω, είναι η επικείμενη παροχή συνδρομής στην Ελλάδα, στην Κύπρο και στο Ισραήλ για την ανάπτυξη και την εφαρμογή ενός υποπεριφερειακού σχεδίου έκτακτης ανάγκης στο πλαίσιο της τριμερούς δήλωσης συνεργασίας των χωρών αυτών για συνεργασία στον τομέα της προστασίας του περιβάλλοντος με έμφαση στον τομέα της ετοιμότητας και αντιμετώπισης της θαλάσσιας ρύπανσης από πετρέλαιο.
In this framework, REMPEC's assistance to Mediterranean states is perfectly reflected in REMPEC's imminent support to Greece, Cyprus and Israel for developing and implementing a sub-regional contingency plan in the framework of a joint declaration of these 3 countries for cooperation in environmental protection, emphasizing in the field of preparedness for a response to marine pollution from oil.
Αυτή η τριμερή συνεργασία και η κάλυψη δεν αφορά μόνο τις 3 χώρες, αφορά όλες τις χώρες της Μεσογείου. Αφορά τη Μεσόγειο θάλασσα.
This tripartite understanding between the 3 countries is also applied to all the Mediterranean countries. It's not just for those 3 states.
Στο σημείο αυτό οφείλω να επισημάνω και να αναφερθώ και στην αναθεώρηση και υιοθέτηση της περιφερειακής στρατηγικής για την πρόληψη και αντιμετώπιση της θαλάσσιας ρύπανσης στη Μεσόγειο 2016-2021.
At this point, I should also refer to the revision and adoption of the regional strategy for the prevention and response to marine pollution from ships 2016-2021, which is considered as a milestone for REMPEC.
Η χρονική συγκυρία του σημερινού εορτασμού είναι ιδιαίτερα σημαντική για το κέντρο, καθώς και ο ρόλος και η εμπλοκή του στην αποτελεσματική υλοποίηση των επιμέρους στόχων της στρατηγικής του αποτελεί ρόλο κλειδί.
The Center holds a key role for the effective implementation of the strategy's objective, and its support and assistance towards this goal is invaluable.
Γι' αυτό και με ενδιαφέρον αναμένουμε τη Σύνοδο των Περιφερειακών Εμπειρογνωμόνων για θέματα σχετικά με τα εθνικά σχέδια δράσης για την εφαρμογή της στρατηγικής, η Σύνοδος που πρόκειται να πραγματοποιηθεί στη Βαρκελόνη τον προσεχή Νοέμβριο.
In this context, I am glad to say that we are looking forward to the regional expert meeting on national action plans for the implementation of the regional strategy for prevention of and response to marine pollution, which is going to take place in Barcelona in November 2016.
Επιπρόσθετα, και καθώς η Διεθνή Σύμβαση για τη Διαχείριση του Έρματος των Πλοίων θα τεθεί σε ισχύ το λιγότερο σε ένα χρόνο από σήμερα, θεωρούμε υψηλής προτεραιότητας για το κέντρο την ανάπτυξη όλων των σχετικών δομών και εργαλείων για την ενημέρωση, την εκπαίδευση και την ανταλλαγή πληροφοριών μεταξύ των μεσογειακών κρατών για την αποτελεσματική εφαρμογή της Σύμβασης.
Moreover, as the Ballast Water Management Convention is due to enter into force in less than 1 year, we consider as a high priority the development of all the relevant resources and tools for the training, knowledge and information sharing amongst all the Mediterranean towards the Convention's effective implementation.
Χωρίς να παραγνωρίζουμε τη σημασία του πρωτοκόλλου για τις υπεράκτιες εγκαταστάσεις της Σύμβασης της Βαρκελώνης, λαμβάνοντας υπόψη την αύξηση του ενδιαφέροντος για τη διενέργεια εργασιών έρευνας και εξόρυξης υδρογονανθράκων στη λεκάνη της Μεσογείου, θεωρούμε ότι η προστασία του θαλασσίου περιβάλλοντος από τέτοιου είδους δραστηριότητες θα πρέπει να συγκαταληφθεί στις μελλοντικές προτεραιότητες του REMPEC.
Notwithstanding the importance of the offshore protocol to the Barcelona Convention, we believe that considering the growth interest in this field in offshore exploration and exploitation of the Mediterranean basin, the protection of the Mediterranean marine environment from the adverse impacts of such activities should constitute one of REMPEC's main future priorities.
Η συνεισφορά του REMPEC στην ενίσχυση της βιωσιμότητας του περιβάλλοντος της Μεσογείου δίνει σήμερα περισσότερες προκλήσεις από ποτέ και βρισκόμενοι αντιμέτωποι με την απειλή της κλιματικής αλλαγής παγκοσμίως και την πρόκληση για την επίτευξη των στόχων της Ατζέντας 2030 των Ηνωμένων Εθνών για τη βιώσιμη ανάπτυξη, το REMPEC θα μπορούσε και πρέπει και νομίζω ότι θα το κάνει να αποτελέσει μέσο συνένωσης όλων των μεσογειακών κρατών σε μια κοινή προσπάθεια να διασφαλιστεί η βιώσιμη διαχείριση των φυσικών, θαλάσσιων και παράκτιων πόρων μας.
REMPEC's active contribution towards the development of environmental sustainability in the Mediterranean seems nowadays more challenging than ever. Facing the global threat of climate change and the challenge of achieving the goals of the United Nations 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development, REMPEC could become the means to unite all Mediterranean states in a common effort to ensure the sustainable management of our natural, marine and coastal resources.
Ολοκληρώνοντας, θέλω να συγχαρώ το κέντρο για την πολύτιμη προσφορά του και τα επιτεύγματά του στην πρόληψη και αντιμετώπιση της ρύπανσης από τα πλοία, να ευχηθώ τα 40 χρόνια να γίνουν 100 και παραπάνω και να εκφράσω την πλήρη υποστήριξη της χώρας μας, της Ελλάδας, σε κάθε προσπάθεια στο επίπεδο δράσης του REMPEC με την διασφάλιση της βιωσιμότητας του κέντρου, την οποία διαχρονικά έχουμε στηρίξει πολλές φορές και μάλιστα σε χρήσιμες στιγμές και θα την στηρίξουμε για μια φορά ακόμα στο μέλλον, γιατί πιστεύουμε στην αποστολή του και στο ρόλο που έχει να επιτελέσει. Σας ευχαριστώ.
Concluding, I would like to congratulate the Center for its valuable work and achievements in preventing and combating vessel source pollution, express my country's full support to REMPEC and every effort taking place at international level to ensure its long-term sustainability.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. We now watch a video message by Commissioner Carmelo Vella, representing the European Union.
Minister Vella, friends of REMPEC, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for this invitation to address the gathering. I am very happy I can contribute to REMPEC's 40th anniversary, even though I can't be there in Malta to celebrate with you. All of Europe depends on its seas, and we look to you to protect these marine and coastal environments from pollution. As a man of the Mediterranean, I have a special respect for the work of REMPEC. You have long been a pillar of the Barcelona Convention and one of its oldest activity centers. This sea is hugely important, not just as a shipping route of global importance, but also as a tourist destination with unique diversity and beauty, and as a reservoir for incredible biodiversity and life. But our seas are beset by turmoil, and the geopolitics are ever more complex. Security has rarely been more difficult, and yet you remain broadly accepted as a hub for regional collaboration. Maintaining this role in the coming years will be a challenge. To address new threats, you will need greater expertise and operational capability. I am thinking, for example, of pressures on the marine environment from offshore oil and gas. The European Union is a party to the Barcelona Convention and to the protocols that REMPEC is implementing. We encourage member states to ratify them and to engage fully in their implementation. Last February, the parties adopted a new strategy against pollution from ships and an action plan to address offshore activities. I am certain you will be using this 40th anniversary to improve understanding of their content and to reaffirm REMPEC's role in the fulfilling of these demanding goals. The European Union has been a constant supporter, providing substantial financial contributions through projects and through the regular budget of the Barcelona Convention. We promote technical cooperation between REMPEC and the European Maritime Safety Agency. In the event of a major pollution incident, EMSA can help mobilize EU expertise and response capabilities, drawing on the Emergency Response Coordination Centre at the European Commission. Your efforts to improve the enforcement of international rules are highly valued. Your help in organizing joint surveillance activities and stimulating the exchange of information between law enforcement officials is particularly useful. As a mark of our confidence in your key role implementing the policies of the Barcelona Convention and our own EU marine and maritime policies, please be assured not only of the European Union's continuing support, but also of our admiration. I wish you all the best for the conference. Thank you.
We thank Commissioner Vella for his message. Now we continue with the list of speakers. I'm just reminding, kindly try to stick to the 2-minute time limit, because we've got a list of speakers and we would like to be on time. The next speaker is going to be Deputy Minister of Environment, Mr. Kledi Shashiu, I hope I said it right, from Albania.
Honorable Secretary General, Honorable Mr. Gonzalez, Honorable Dr. Vella, Honorable Dr. Herrera, Honorable Mr. Mitzi, dear Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen. It's my pleasure to hold this talk on behalf of the Albanian government, and especially on behalf of the Ministry of Environment, to this event, to this 40th anniversary of REMPEC, which not only prevents but combats the marine pollution and fosters the cooperation between regional countries for a proper environment. Albania has ratified the protocol concerning the cooperation in combating pollution of the Mediterranean Sea by oil and other harmful substances in cases of emergency, along with the Barcelona Convention, this dating on the year 2000. On the accession of the Republic of Albania to the Convention for Protection of Marine Environment and Coastal Zone Mediterranean Area. This approval has been together with 6 its accompanying protocols. In the implementation of this protocol, with very important assistance of REMPEC, the National Contingency Plan for Response to Marine Pollution was designed and approved on July of 2016. Pursuant to the contingency plan, some exercises were conducted to test the readiness and implementation of the plan, along with some national exercises and 2 regional exercises, like Adriatic 12 and PAMEX 2015. The institution responsible for the implementation plan is the representative of Ministry of Environment within the Interministerial Operational Marine Center in Albania. Regarding the protocol for cooperation in preventing pollution from ships in the cases of emergency of the Mediterranean Sea, unfortunately, the Republic of Albania has not ratified yet, but it implements the MARPOL Convention, which deals with marine pollutions and the prevention from the pollution from ships. Based on this convention, on the proposal of Ministry of Environment and the Ministry of Transport and Infrastructure, the Council of Ministers has adopted the decree on 2015 on the approval of the requirements for waste discharge prevention generated by ships and cargo residues in the sea. That is vastly used for ships reception facilities in the Republic of Albania. Offshore protocol is the offshore protocol of Barcelona that is lately being much more attention. The Republic of Albania has ratified this protocol in 2001. For the implementation of this protocol by REMPEC, following the decision taken on the meeting of 17 member states, an action plan was drafted and a technical working group with the representatives from REMPEC was formed as well, containing the representatives from all member states and, of course, the representatives of the industry. The first meeting took place on 13th till 14th June in Malta, 2013. Currently, Albania doesn't have any specific role in this protocol, but after the government's decision on the allocation of the sea in different areas for issuing concession for oil research, the implementation of this protocol may be of great importance. The Republic of Albania considers REMPEC as one of the most important institutions for the protection of the Mediterranean marine environment. We appreciate the work done by REMPEC while assisting Albania in drafting a number of documents for the protection of marine environment, as well as for the initiative taken for the coordination work and regional cooperation. Some of these issues important to mention are the organization and participation in some exercises, the appointment of the main role for the dissemination of information, such as Polinfo and Polrep, the assistance request on different countries' behalf in cases of marine pollution, emergency by oil or other dangerous substances. The main challenge for sustainability of the current REMPEC is finding the funding sources. The main alternative for funding sources are the member states of Barcelona Convention, but given the fact that nowadays the economic situation of the countries in the region is not at its best, as well the tendency of the EU countries is to transfer the contribution to other European institutions, and not least important alternative remains the application through various projects, since the region itself, having a partner like REMPEC with such great experience and reputation in the field of marine environmental protection, would be very beneficial for the region. Another challenge for REMPEC is the implementation of Strategy 2016-2020, in which each member state should develop its own action plan as well as carry out the foreseen duties. Also important is the implementation of the action plan for the offshore protocol, since the trend in the region, countries is seeking for oil and gas sources in the marine area. Such activity poses a great danger of marine pollution, and the failure of proper measures in the right time can cause disasters similar to that of Gulf of Mexico. Therefore, the best way to implement the regional strategy is the development of an action plan with the assistance of REMPEC, which includes all national stakeholders to implement it. One of the main ways of the national level to ensure the achievements of the regional strategy for prevention and for response to marine pollution from ships 2016-2021 is the effective implementation of the National Contingency Plan, in which factors are aware of their duties and responsibilities to prevent marine pollution and accidental pollution. In such cases, they ought to coordinate the efforts in the right time with the staff and equipment needed for effective response to marine pollution potential. In relevance of bilateral agreements with neighboring countries such as Montenegro, Greece, and Croatia, the facing country, Italy too, to cooperate in emergencies in information dissemination in a more rapid and effective way, as well as carrying out specific actions in case of abrupt accidental pollution, is making the effective trilateral North Adriatic Agreement for prevention and response to marine pollution, and inclusion of Albania and Montenegro as countries that have fulfilled necessary conditions in this agreement. At the conclusion, I would like to express the full Albanian support for REMPEC and wish a successful further ongoing of this summit. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I now call Mr. Taufik Abdelkader Mahi, Chargé du Bureau, Ministre des Affaires étrangères, Algérie.
Bonjour. Excellences, Messieurs les ministres, distingués chefs de délégation et délégués. Nous nous félicitons de nous retrouver aujourd'hui dans un pays méditerranéen par excellence, qui est celui de Malte, au gouvernement duquel nous tenons à exprimer nos chaleureuses félicitations et sincères remerciements pour l'organisation de cet événement. L'Algérie, à l'instar des autres pays méditerranéens, inscrit sa politique de lutte contre la pollution marine dans le cadre des stratégies méditerranéennes pertinentes, ainsi que de la Convention de Barcelone et de ses protocoles. Je tiens à rappeler que mon pays s'étale sur une bande côtière de 1600 km dans laquelle sont concentrées plus de 80% des activités économiques et de la population. C'est ainsi, et en dépit des schémas nationaux mis en œuvre pour le redéploiement des activités de la population à l'intérieur du territoire, à travers la réalisation de vastes programmes d'infrastructures, d'équipements publics et d'établissements d'enseignement, y compris supérieurs, la pression sur la bande côtière demeure et persiste avec une acuité particulière. C'est pour cela que mon pays dispose depuis plusieurs années d'un cadre intersectoriel de prévention et d'intervention en cas d'urgence pour des situations de pollution marine accidentelle. Ce cadre intersectoriel national dispose également de ses déclinaisons au plan régional et territorial. Mon gouvernement se félicite également des programmes de coopération engagés avec les centres régionaux de la Convention de Barcelone et principalement le REMPEC. En effet, seule la mutualisation d'efforts et l'échange d'expériences sont les clés d'une coopération méditerranéenne réussie et d'une intervention efficace au plan national. Je conclus enfin en réitérant mes remerciements au gouvernement de Malte, au PNUE, à l'Organisation maritime internationale et au secrétariat du REMPEC. Je vous remercie de votre attention.
Merci pour votre intervention. Now I call Mr. Goran Saran, Assistant Minister of Maritime Affairs, Transport and Infrastructure from Croatia.
Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, Your Excellency, Mr. Kitak Lim, Secretary General of International Maritime Organization, ministries, directors, secretaries. Dear colleagues, on behalf of Minister of Maritime Affairs of the Republic of Croatia, Mr. Butkovic, and Minister of Environment Protection of Republic of Croatia, Mr. Dobrovic, it's my great pleasure to address all of you today on the occasion of this important anniversary. It has been only 40 years since we have committed ourselves to joint efforts in protection of all the seas of the Mediterranean region. Important legal and operational activities have been undertaken in this period, raising awareness, but also more significantly, national and joint capacities for prevention and combating of marine pollution. Marine environment protection culture in the Adriatic Sea region has benefited from the cooperation with REMPEC. National contingency plans have been developed and enforced, and sub-regional contingency plan between Croatia, Slovenia, and Italy has been ratified by Croatia and will be helpful hand of REMPEC. And in the future, we need to ensure the continuity of REMPEC activities and further develop its operational capacities. We have to further improve preparation, coordination, and cooperation in cases of cross-border pollution. We need to raise the question of cross-border operational cooperation as a multi-sectorial issue. We need to extend our cooperation and the activities of REMPEC towards securing our seas from adverse effects of offshore and seabed activities. This work needs to be continued in the future and for the future. Thank you very much.
Thank you for your contribution. Thank you for keeping to the time limit. The next speaker is Monsieur Patrick Louis Augier, Deputy Secretary General for the Sea from France.
Bonjour à tous, messieurs les ministres, excellences. Je voudrais d'abord féliciter Gamino González et de nous accueillir au REMPEC et monsieur le ministre des Affaires étrangères de Malte. Alors il y a deux volets dans la lutte contre la pollution. Il y a la prévention et la lutte contre les pollutions volontaires. Donc la prévention s'est jouée dans beaucoup d'États et ça a été rappelé. Et je voulais surtout parler de la lutte contre les pollutions volontaires pour aller un peu amener en Méditerranée ce qu'ont fait les États baltes où, par leur action commune, par leur union, ils ont réussi à faire disparaître quasiment la pollution volontaire de la mer Baltique. Alors, comme l'a souligné le secrétaire général de l'OMI, son Excellence Kitakli, il faut d'abord développer une politique juridique commune. Il faut un cadre pour lutter, pour faire des procès-verbaux de constatation des pollutions volontaires en mer. Et au-delà de cela, je voulais souligner aussi qu'aujourd'hui, c'est l'anniversaire du REMPEC et que demain, c'est aussi une date importante pour l'Europe et pour la Méditerranée, puisque c'est l'entrée en vigueur du règlement européen sur la garde-côte européenne, qui va donner, en plus des moyens aujourd'hui de l'EMSA pour la surveillance maritime, il y a des moyens de contrôle et des moyens d'action qui seront des moyens futurs pour la lutte contre les pollutions volontaires. Alors pourquoi pas partager dans le futur un objectif de zéro pollution en Méditerranée qu'on pourrait tous adopter ensemble en coordonnant la lutte avec les moyens futurs de l'Union européenne. Je pense que c'est un objectif que l'on pourrait adopter. Et on espère beaucoup du côté de la France, de la future présidence maltaise, pour développer beaucoup de réalisations pour la Méditerranée. Voilà.
Merci pour votre intervention. The next speaker is Mr. Frederick Ardzwan, Deputy Director, Marine and Coastal Environment, Ministry of Environment Protection from Israel.
Distinguished delegates, ladies and gentlemen, it is my privilege to address you on behalf of the Israeli Minister of Environmental Protection, Mr. Zev Elkin, on this occasion of the 40th anniversary of REMPEC. There were numerous achievements of REMPEC to the countries through the 40 years. I would like to mention only some of them, and as far as Israel. The assistance provided by the Center to Israel in drafting, reviewing, adopting the National Maritime Pollution Contingency Plan in response to all pollution, preparing by the minister and professionals, collaborating with the Inter-Ministerial Steering Committee, and was adopted by the government decision in May 2008. It aims to assure prompt and effective action to minimize damage that may result from marine oil spill pollution. The assistance to draft and adopt a sub-regional agreement for preparedness and response to marine oil spill pollution. The Center assists in the 90s the conclusion of a sub-regional agreement between Cyprus, Israel, and Egypt, and the Center is currently embarked on a support plan for the drafting of a regional agreement between Cyprus, Greece, and Israel to combat marine oil spill. The assistance in emergency situation, the oil spill in Avrona, a desert natural reserve in December 2014, our request for assistance for information of known similar incidents, applicable techniques, and promptly answered went along with the incidents, including listening with other relevant parties to this event. In the future, we see REMPEC continuing in a long-term training program for capacity building, since we understand the manpower quality and the professionalism is the utmost condition for the successful management of a marine environmental regulatory activities. Continuous training of many specific fields of response of marine pollution are vital. MARPOL annexes are highly complicated and therefore must be also continuously trained and learned, and the Center must play the lead agency for this capacity building. The offshore action plan is the framework of the protocol, is compliant ongoing mission which must have a total devotion of the Center. For that, the Center must have the prompt means in terms of budget and professional manpower to supply the parties with the proper updated information and guidelines. The high-intensive development in the Eastern Levantine Med Basin currently signify the importance of the implementation of this protocol. Israel is doing everything to comply with the provisional of this protocol at present, and will do everything to rectify the protocol as soon as possible. Finally, I would like to state that as far as Israel is concerned, and I'm sure that more countries will agree, through all these 40 years of activity, REMPEC has demonstrated remarkable characteristic ability to bring together to an operational status a vital subject of protection of the marine environment, together with shipping, oil and gas industry, all that in a not always simple international playground, doing that with proven result. This, to my humble opinion, is a success story. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Arzwan. The next speaker is Capitano Aurelio Caligore, Minister from the Ministry of the Environment.
Excellencies, the Secretary General of the IMO, the Ministry of Transport of Malta, distinguished delegates, ladies and gentlemen, I am honored to take the floor in this so important meeting and represent here the Italian Environment Administration. First of all, I would like to bring the regards of the Italian Minister of Environment that follow with great care all the developments within the scope of the Barcelona Convention, as well as the regards and of the General Director of the Directorate for the Protection of Nature, Land and Sea of the Ministry. That is the REMPEC governmental focal point. Since the beginning, the Italian Ministry of Environment supported the commitment of REMPEC aimed at providing the capacity of a synergic emergency response to a marine pollution at the regional and sub-regional level, and contributed actively to the intense job of drafting strategic documents carried out by the Centre. Among these, I would like to recall the consideration given by the REMPEC and the Barcelona Convention to the so relevant issue of the offshore installations, and to stress the need of implementing the offshore action plan. Moreover, I am sure that Italy will join the REMPEC initiatives related to the arising challenge posed by the new consolidated environmental threat that we have to face in our Mediterranean Sea, and I would say on a global scale. I refer to the marine litter, in regard of which a new awareness is growing up in the international community at a governmental level, as well as the urgency to put in place any efforts aimed at preventing its generation and at reducing its impact on marine and coastal environment. So, on behalf of the Minister of Environment, I congratulate with people that throughout these 40 years had given their valuable contribution to the activity of REMPEC, and I would like to express the best wishes for at least other 40 years of well-done job in the protection of the Mediterranean Sea. That means in the protection of our health, of our economy, of our future. Thank you very much for our attention.
Grazie Capitano per il suo intervento. The next speaker is Mr. Ghassan Sayah, advisor to the Minister of the Environment from Lebanon.
Mr. Chairman, Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, I bring to you today the greetings from the Lebanese government and the Minister of Environment with his best wishes and congratulations for the launching of the 40th anniversary celebrations of REMPEC. No need to say how great and important was the REMPEC's involvement in the marine pollution incident in the Eastern Mediterranean during the summer of 2006. For without this intervention, Lebanon would have continued to suffer for many, many years to come. The suffering of the consequences of this oil spill. Given the short time allocated for this intervention today, I would like also to express the deep appreciation of the Lebanese government and the Ministry of Environment for REMPEC's current assistance to our country in developing the National Contingency Plan in the framework of the SODEL project. The development of this plan represents a major challenge for us at the time being. Thank you very much.
Thank you. The next speaker on my list is Mr. Kairi Krootz, advisor from Libya.
My name is Hayri Karuz, Libyan State Representative. On this occasion, I would like to thank you all for your invitation and your warm welcome. I would like to thank you all who spent effort, all who contribute for the success of this important event. And as all of us know, due to the unrest in Libya, for the last 5 years, we were not in a position to clearly address the REMPEC questionnaire. But we can conclude and highlight some points. We think it will give a clue on what we have achieved so far. Our achievement regarding REMPEC, we already prepared the National Contingency Plan, the first draft to be sent to REMPEC for gap analysis in the near future. We also completed inventory for all oil treatment terminals located on Libya coastline for oil and gas production facilities. We also carried out many marine oil field exercises. The reason is to test the oil spill contingency plan, practicing oil spill response equipment deployment, assessing the communicating and working with other organization parties in the region. The challenges so far, some of the regional and international conventions are not ratified yet. We have a lack of transposed international conventions to national regulations. The priorities, supporting Libya to revise and updating and improving the national regulations and enhancing local skills. Regarding the regional strategy, to ensure the implementation of the regional strategy, we should enhance the level of enforcement and the prosecution against the charges defenders. Establishing a system for monitoring and surveillance, and the Article 20 of Barcelona Convention Protocol 1 and 2 related to the damming, cutting in the sea, and removal of the installation should be revised. Laterally, effective regional cooperation. We see that strengthening the relationship between regional countries to response to oil spill. We hope in the near future we will have more cooperation with REMPEC and all regional countries. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I now call on Madame Armelle Rudeau-Lafont, Directeur des Affaires Maritimes from Monaco.
Excellences, Messieurs les ministres, Monsieur le secrétaire général de l'OMI, Mesdames et Messieurs, la Principauté de Monaco tient à ajouter sa voix et ses vœux à la célébration des 40 ans du REMPEC. Que tous ceux qui ont contribué à l'œuvre du REMPEC, et en particulier ses différents directeurs, en soient remerciés. Au préalable, au nom du gouvernement princier et de sa ministre en charge de l'environnement marin, je tiens à saluer la Méditerranée, présente ici d'une manière exceptionnelle, avec les 20 États riverains, montrant ainsi la sensibilité générale à la préservation durable de notre patrimoine commun. Monaco s'est très tôt impliqué dans les actions du REMPEC, notamment sur les volets relatifs à la prévention des pollutions marines, à travers l'édiction des protocoles d'urgence ou la tenue d'exercices opérationnels. Je noterai également parmi les acquis du REMPEC les protocoles visant à améliorer la poursuite des répressions contre les auteurs des rejets, les opérations Oscar Med, mais aussi toutes les actions qui ont pu être organisées avec les organisations judiciaires. Par ailleurs, eu égard à sa configuration socio-économique, c'est tout naturellement que la principauté, conduite par le prince Régnier III, a initié les réflexions et participé activement aux côtés de l'Institut du droit de la mer sur les lignes directrices concernant les activités de plaisance et la protection de l'environnement marin en Méditerranée, ligne adoptée en 2008. Au travers du REMPEC et en cet anniversaire, je tiens à souligner la pertinence de l'approche consensuelle retenue par cette organisation pour ce volet ayant permis d'aboutir à une évolution profonde des comportements où la responsabilité de chacun est engagée. En ce moment propice au bilan, mais aussi aux perspectives d'avenir, je souhaiterais terminer sur ce point. Monaco a une expérience importante des accords régionaux avec la France et l'Italie en matière de lutte anti-pollution marine et formule le vœu qu'un pont puisse être établi entre le REMPEC et les accords Ramoge, qui sont une excellente illustration de la lutte anti-pollution marine et de la coopération technique entre la France, l'Italie et la Principauté de Monaco. Cette dynamique me semble pouvoir être réfléchie à l'échelle du REMPEC. Je vous remercie.
Merci pour votre intervention. We now have Mr. Jadran Klinek, Director of Slovenian Maritime Administration, and Dr. Mitja Bricelli, Secretary Ministry of Environment and Spatial Planning.
Dear Sir, ladies and gentlemen, Slovenia collaborates with REMPEC from early beginning. Since that, we see a big progress in combating pollution from sea. But we also learn a lot regarding pollution preparedness and response. We feel much more secure and prepared. So we feel support REMPEC, not only by giving us a common tool to act against the oil pollution, but also in their effort to connect all Mediterranean countries with one single scope, to protect our beautiful sea. So we are very honored and proud to be part of it. I will pass the word to my colleague. Thank you.
Dear Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, I'm on behalf of European Strategy for Adriatic Union addressing you as a pillar coordinator of quality of environment, Pillar 3. With this, I would like to start to really be very short and to congratulate for the 40 years of the active and very concrete assistance to all Mediterranean countries of our shared sea, to really all the best to REMPEC, and thank you very much. Let me express my personal experience with the REMPEC very short. Thanks to active REMPEC response to country needs to prepare the Slovenian, Italian, Croatian joint contingency plan, we signed it in 2005 in Slovenia. On COP14 on Barcelona Convention, which adopted also first Mediterranean strategy for sustainable development. Now, we are in Malta, in country which hosting the REMPEC, and the country which presided to the process of the second Mediterranean strategy for sustainable development, which is now adopted. It is time to demonstrate synergies, not to speak just about them, among existing institutions and among the countries. In this spirit, as coordinator of one of the pillars of European Adriatic Union strategy, I propose to REMPEC and EMSA, as Commissioner said, to further assist to the Adriatic Union countries on enlargement of the contingency plan, to enlarge it to Bosnia and Herzegovina, Montenegro, and Albania, and Ionian Sea. This will be very concrete sub-regional contribution to the implementation of the second Mediterranean strategy for sustainable development. Thank you, REMPEC, and thank you, Malta.
Thank you very much. I apologize, I should have asked Montenegro to take the floor. So I call on Mrs. Ivana Stajonovic, advisor in the Department of Sustainable Development, to take the floor.
Mr. Chairman, Your Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, allow me to greet you on behalf of the Ministry for Sustainable Development and Tourism of Montenegro. I avail myself of the opportunity to thank REMPEC and His Excellency Minister Vella for invitation to take participation in the high-level meeting and the celebration of 40 years of cooperation in the Mediterranean to prevent and combat marine pollution from ships. Clean, healthy, and productive Mediterranean Sea is a prerequisite for sustainable development of the entire region. UNEP and REMPEC have been providing for 4 decades a unique framework for reduction of pressures to marine environment and coastal regions by supporting development of policy and technical framework on preparedness for and response to accidental marine pollution. Maritime traffic, marine incidents, offshore installations, coastal oil handling facilities, and oil spill response equipment required concerted efforts of all of us at global, regional, and national level. UNEP and REMPEC program of work and their partnership with IMO and European Commission have to remain main policy frameworks and enable ships' ballast water management and invasive species impacts control, prevent illegal discharges from ships, preparedness for and response to accidental marine pollution, data sharing, monitoring, and reporting. Montenegro had the opportunity to develop the national contingency plan and to participate in developing a regional one for the Adriatic Sea in cooperation with REMPEC, but also to benefit from a number of technical programs for capacity building. Now, when a difficult period of REMPEC reconstructing is completed, we do believe that the program of work for 2016-2017 and mid-term period will bring new opportunities for realization of the priority actions. From the perspective of Montenegro, as the contracting party highly devoted to the goals of Barcelona Convention and its protocols, but also to fulfillment of the comprehensive tasks related to accession of Montenegro to the EU, we find that expertise in implementation of national preparedness and response systems, support in assessing and strengthening national capacities to ratify and implement the offshore protocol, control and management of ships as to minimize the transfer of invasive aquatic species, control of oil and HNS pollution from ships, expertise in reduction of underwater noise from commercial shipping to address adverse impacts on marine life, interface between science and policy making, should remain a core set of REMPEC's portfolio. In that regard, Montenegro looks forward to contributing to collective journey towards sustainable Mediterranean future. Lastly, I wish to express gratitude to the Mediterranean Action Plan and REMPEC for the years-long support for our actions aimed to strengthening the dialogue and cooperation. I congratulate the REMPEC for 40 years of successful work, with the expectation that further implementation of the Barcelona Convention will enable the Mediterranean coastal areas to be resilient and healthy, with recognizable identity and authenticity, to provide sustainability and benefits both to their present inhabitants and the generations to come. Firmly believing that the upcoming period will prove we are right to have set our expectations in this manner, I thank you for your attention.
Thank you very much. The last speaker on my list is Mr. Samir Kadira, who is Director Adjoint de la Marine Mercantile from Tunisia.
Excellences, Monsieur le Ministre, cher Monsieur le chef de bureau du REMPEC, Mesdames et Messieurs les représentants des pays, Mesdames et Messieurs, je suis ravi d'être parmi vous et de représenter mon pays, la Tunisie, pour la réunion de haut niveau et de lancement des célébrations du 40e anniversaire du Centre régional méditerranéen pour l'intervention d'urgence contre la pollution marine. Je saisis cette occasion pour remercier et rendre hommage au REMPEC et je salue M. Gabino, chef de bureau du REMPEC, et son équipe pour les efforts déployés pour satisfaire les demandes et les besoins de mon pays pour toute assistance en matière de prévention et lutte contre la pollution marine accidentelle. Mesdames et Messieurs, c'est dans cet esprit de prévention et d'intervention que la Tunisie a fondé son arsenal juridique Parmi les réalisations qu'a fait la Tunisie pour la lutte et l'intervention en mer contre les pollutions par les hydrocarbures, et ceci par le soutien du REMPEC, la préparation de son plan national d'intervention urgente et son manuel, la signature de l'accord concernant les plans d'urgence sous-régionale pour le sud-est méditerranéen depuis le 2 novembre 2006 entre la Tunisie, l'Algérie et le Maroc. La ratification de toutes les conventions et protocoles dans le cadre de la Convention de Barcelone. La réalisation des exercices de simulation nationaux, l'approbation des plans spécifiques d'intervention de toutes les plateformes offshore, ainsi les plans spécifiques d'intervention dans les ports de commerce. L'installation des systèmes de contrôle de navigation AIS pour les préventions, l'accès au système CleanSeaNet et aussi au système intégré des données environnementales maritimes de l'EMSA. Nous remercions le REMPEC qui s'efforce de travailler en coopération avec les institutions scientifiques régionales et de programmer des projets spécifiques pour garantir à toutes les parties contractantes l'accès à des données cohérentes et de leur proposer des outils d'aide à la décision développés en tenant compte des caractéristiques spécifiques de la région méditerranéenne. Dans le but de satisfaire cet objectif spécifique de révision des textes existants et de définir des recommandations, principes et lignes directrices au niveau régional visant à faciliter la coopération internationale et l'assistance mutuelle dans le cadre du protocole prévention et situations critiques. Le REMPEC a développé directement ou par le biais du groupe de travail technique MTWG un ensemble de directives d'outils d'aide à la décision. Donc le REMPEC a beaucoup à faire pour la Méditerranée et pour l'harmonisation des moyens et des cadres législatifs. Nous consolidons le REMPEC pour surmonter les défis qui les attendent et les missions qui lui sont confiées, à continuer son assistance et d'aide en tant que point focal des pays méditerranéens pour les pays méditerranéens et de satisfaire les demandes des pays en cas de besoin. Et merci.
Thank you very much. This brings us to the end of this session where we have listened for best wishes for the center as also a commitment to future cooperation with the center. We now come to another very important part of the program, which is panel discussions. And we start with the first panel discussion, which is a review of 40 years of work of REMPEC. The moderators will be Mr. Gaetano Leone and Mr. Gabino Gonzalez, who will also be then moderating the next panel discussion, which will be 40 years of partnership with REMPEC. Gaetano Leone, prior to his current post as coordinator, United Nations Environment Programme, Barcelona Convention Secretariat, Coordinating Unit for the Mediterranean Action Plan. He was Deputy Director Officer in charge of UNEP's Regional Office for Europe, and also served as Senior Program Officer in the Division for Regional Cooperation in Nairobi, Kenya. He has also served as the Secretary of the Committee of the Whole for UNEP's Governing Council from 2005-2007. Prior to joining UNEP in 2002, Mr. Leone worked with UN Habitat for over a decade in posts such as Personnel Liaison Officer and Program Support Division in Kenya. The Cities Alliance member of the Secretariat, World Bank in Washington, Liaison Officer in New York, Special Assistant to the Executive Director, Secretary General of the Habitat II Conference in Kenya, and AHSO Inter-Organization Affairs Unit in Kenya. He has also worked with UNICEF and UNDP during his professional career. Quite an impressive career. Mr. Gabino Gonzalez, who joined REMPEC in June 2006 as Program Officer, has assumed the duties of Head of Office of REMPEC since February 2015. After 2 years as IMO consultant for the RAC REMPEC ITC Carib in Curaçao, Netherlands, in the Antilles, where he was implementing the Center's technical cooperation program for the wider Caribbean countries. He joined the Operations Department of Oil Spill Response Limited before taking the role of project manager of the IMO IPIECA Global Initiative Project for the Western and Central Africa region. So the first panel is aimed at reviewing 40 years of work of the Regional Marine Pollution Emergency Response Center for the Mediterranean Sea through your personal experience as former directors, head of office of REMPEC. I now give the floor to Mr. Gaetano Leone to moderate this discussion.
Thank you very much, Minister Vella. Good evening, distinguished guests and colleagues. It gives me a great pleasure on behalf of the UNEP MAP Barcelona Convention Secretariat to welcome you also at this celebratory event for the 40th anniversary of REMPEC. Minister Vella, I'm particularly grateful for the way you read my CV and you called it impressive. I could have summarized it in 2 words. I've been with the UN most of my life, in many places, with all the good and bad things that come with it. But I have to say, the past 2 years as coordinator of UNEP MAP have been probably the most exciting of all my experiences, including living in New York or living in Jamena or during civil wars. These were all nothing compared to what we have done in the past 2 years to strengthen, to move forward this very, very important initiative that is the Mediterranean Action Plan and Barcelona Convention. The other thing that CV shows that I am old enough to remember the 70s, and that was indeed a very special decade to celebrate. Not only I was a teenager at that time, but for us who were passionate about environment was also a very special time. It was the time when, in 1972, we had the first conference on the human environment in Stockholm, the establishment of UNEP. A couple of years later, UNEP launched its regional seas program. In 1975-76, the Mediterranean Action Plan and the Barcelona Convention were signed, and immediately the first emergency protocol was approved by the parties to the Barcelona Convention, and what was then called ROC and then became REMPEC was established. At that time, with what I would define extraordinary long-term vision, young UNEP and the IMO joined hands to create a mechanism of collaboration that has spurred much success over 4 decades. And I do want to pay homage to those 2 organizations, represented here today by the Secretary General of IMO and the Director of Europe of UNEP, and most of all to the government of Malta that for those 4 decades has believed and supported REMPEC in the delivery of its mandate. But I think we should not only celebrate a historical milestone this afternoon, now it's equally a special time for those of us who continue working now on what we call sustainable development, on marine and maritime issues. This is a crucial moment for the international community, and in particular, I'm thinking of the 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development, its ambitious sustainable development goals, which show us a very ambitious path forward. The Paris Agreement on climate change, which is an unprecedented commitment by the international community to solve and respond to the unprecedented challenges posed by climate change. Issues related to ocean governance and to the protection and caring of our oceans and seas are taking an increasingly central place in the international debate. Within our own system, UNEP MAP, Barcelona Convention, the Conference of the Parties last February gave in very tangible ways, both in terms of decision-making and concrete support, an unequivocal message of continued relevance and importance of the MAP system that was created 40 years ago. In this system, REMPEC has played a crucial role in strengthening national capacities to prevent and combat pollution from ships, developing cooperation at regional level, supporting information sharing, and assisting Mediterranean coastal states in case of emergency. And I'm very grateful to you, representative of countries who have brought examples of the way you have collaborated and benefited from REMPEC's support. The revised emergency and prevention protocol, the offshore protocol, the Mediterranean Offshore Action Plan approved by the parties last February are all instruments of great importance to face the challenges posed by human activities on our seas. I call for your continued support in terms of increased technical, political, and financial resources to make REMPEC more and more successful in meeting its mandate. Now, I have the pleasure of joining me up here, four colleagues, four very distinguished colleagues, who have led REMPEC for most of the past 4 decades. With many other colleagues and staff, they have been really the protagonists of a success story that continues. The first two REMPEC directors, Monsieur Philippe Lelour and Admiral Michel Warren, who were at the helm of REMPEC until 1988, unfortunately could not join us today, but we do pay our respect to them as well. The other directors whom I invite to come here to the podium, namely Monsieur Jean-Claude Saint-Lô, Ammiraglio Roberto Patruno, Monsieur Frédéric Hébert, and Mr. Jonathan Pace, will give us some details on specific examples of REMPEC's history and success. The current head of office, Gabino Gonzalez, whom you have already seen, will moderate the next panel this afternoon. He's a much younger man than me, so he will talk of more interesting things such as partnerships and the future. But before we start with my colleagues, I wish to express again, on behalf of the UNEP-MAP Barcelona Convention System, our deep-felt appreciation to the government of Malta for the support and hospitality, to the IMO Secretary General for continuing to successfully administer and support REMPEC, and to UNEP as the other parent organization of the center. So, welcome, colleagues. I'd like to start with Jean-Claude, Monsieur Jean-Claude Saint-Lô, who worked for a number of years at the French Interministerial Mission for the Sea at the Office of the Prime Minister in France, before joining UNEP in Nairobi and then IMO. He led REMPEC for 10 years, between 1988 and 1998. And I understand, Jean-Claude, that as soon as you arrived, you focused on the development of the capacity of the center to provide information and assistance services and to enhance cooperation with sub-regional mechanisms. So could you add a few words of your experience in this area and also on the legal framework of the center from an international and regional perspective? Thank you, and let me remind you, colleagues, that we have maximum 5 minutes each one to respond. Thank you very much.
I don't know which language I have to use, if it is in French or in English, because I saw some English-speaking people with no écouteurs, so okay, I will go in English because it may be easiest. To start on the last, not question, but issue, let's say the legal framework. A lot has already been said during various interventions today, so I will not come back to that, but I will emphasize one thing, because for me, as a lawyer by background, I pay great attention to the convention, global or regional, and to national law. So the global convention, the law of the sea, the international convention, in particular the IMO convention, and the regional convention, that means the Barcelona Convention and its protocol, are, I would say, the legal framework. That means it's on the basis of this convention and protocol that national law and regulation should be adopted and implemented. And indeed, it is on those bases that the national system for prevention, preparedness, and response to marine pollution should be established. And indeed, it is also under this framework, regional framework and institutional framework, because the center has been established by a resolution of the diplomatic conference in 1976, at the same time that the convention were adopted. And function and mandate was adopted for the center. So that is a framework for the country to set up their own national system. And it is a basis for the center. It was and is still the basis for the center for its own activity. So on those bases, when I took over the responsibility of the center, one event was a key one and very important one. It was at the time when the contracting party decided, although it was already within the protocol, but it was not one of the responsibility, or it doesn't fall within the domain of action of the REMPEC. It was limited at the time to oil. That means that's the reason why it was called the Regional Oil Combating Center. It was decided to extend the domain of action of the center to chemical substances. And that's led to the change of the name of the center. So we recruited at that time a program officer, a chemical expert, to initiate and launch a program to prepare and respond to accidents involving chemical substances. By the way, this chemist was Mr. Stefan Mikhailov, who is now the director of the Marine Environment Division of REMO. Now, it was let's say, the opportunity and the occasion for the center to launch a short, medium, and long-term program to address the issue of preparing and combating chemical substances, as well as reconsidering and proposing a program for oil as preparation and response to oil, combating to oil substances, a comprehensive one, and to ensure that the center, through this program, will fulfill its mandate and function. As mentioned, that I was more inclined of ensuring the implementation of convention and fulfilling the role and function of the center. So through this program, the goal was to first assist the country in establishing a national system for preparedness and response, with a view to fulfill their own obligation under the protocol and various conventions to which they are party. In the meantime, and for both chemical and oil, in the meantime, we develop specific arrangement for, let's say, the situation where the country will have to cooperate in case of emergency. We develop guidelines for assistance in case of emergency or requesting assistance and organizing cooperation in that case. We developed what was called the Mediterranean Assistance Unit, which means a mechanism for the REMPEC to be able to ensure the services of technical experts in case of an emergency and in case of a request from a country. And to activate this Mediterranean Assistance Unit, we put in place a revolving fund using money which we gained from previous assistance, which the insurer give back to the center. So we use this money to establish a revolving fund. In another hand, we start developing what will become the regional information system in collecting data, information, technical document, and database, in particular on chemical substances, and decision support system, or tool for assisting country in case of emergency. In particular, when it comes to chemical substances, we develop what has been called the TROC, From that time, of course, everything has been developed.
Jean-Claude,
Further
may I invite you
development,
to conclude, please?
Sorry?
May I invite you to conclude so we
Yeah,
can
I will
move on.
conclude.
Thank you.
So on the top of that, we initiated assistance to the country in developing sub-regional contingency plan. And I want to finish with that because it's important. It was the first project financed by an EU mechanism, the LIFE mechanism, which helped REMPEC in providing assistance to 3 countries to develop a sub-regional contingency plan. It was through the management of this kind of project, REMPEC showed its ability of implementing and running a project which will be financed by outside sources. That's it. I will finish with that. I could speak more longer.
Thank you very much, Jean-Claude. I'm pleased to invite Mr. Roberto Patruno to take the floor. Roberto is a former Coast Guard admiral, and he was at the helm of REMPEC as director from 1998 to 2005. And I'd like to ask him in his views, how has REMPEC been doing in helping, in assisting the 22 contracting parties of the Barcelona Convention on prevention-related aspects, and specifically on the implementation of the Prevention and Emergency Protocol? Roberto, please.
Thank you. Thank you. Indeed, I will need half an hour to answer your question, so 5 minutes is not easy. I would start saying that it is a fact that the years 1998-2005 marked a significant step forward, a kind of turnabout as regards to REMPEC mandates and responsibilities, which led, in fact, REMPEC to grow tremendously and to achieve remarkable results. And this was because the international scenario, the international legal mechanisms, and regional as well, were developed as such that gave the center and the Mediterranean regional system and the countries all the necessary tools, which definitely have to be the legal instruments, like Jean-Claude Saint-Lô said before, which gave the possibility to go further compared to what was done in the first period of life of REMPEC. And in fact, furthermore, there was also a growing awareness in the maritime community all over the world. It was clear, for instance, that the Mediterranean Sea and its marine environment was suffering for a tremendous pressure exerted by the increasing of the maritime traffic in such an enclosed area, which, by the way, has the highest biodiversity all over the world and is unique for its environmental richness. So, not only that, but also, according to the opinions of experts and studies carried out by the World Bank in the late 90s, it was clear that the maritime traffic was going to continue to grow and increase. In fact, it was envisaged that had to triplicate by 2020 in terms of volume transported at sea, and so oil. And this was for the Mediterranean, was really a shock to get this kind of awareness. And together with the new international mechanism, with the new convention, Barcelona Convention, the new Mediterranean Action Plan, all those together, they act as a boost for the Mediterranean system and the countries, and took the center and the countries together to carry out a tremendous number of activities which led to the adoption of the regional strategy on prevention and response to marine pollution as a significant component of the regional strategy on sustainable development. And was, in my opinion, all that was the foundation for all the further activities of the center in the year to come.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Roberto. And in fact, this is... Let me invite now Mr. Frédéric Hebert, who he was a commander in the French Navy Supply Corps. He has an experience at the Ministry of Finance. He's now, and we congratulate him very much, he's now the head of unit for pollution response at EMSA. And it's nice to know that we have a REMPEC friend at EMSA, which is one of our crucial partners in the Mediterranean for REMPEC. Frédéric held the position of director for 8.5 years, starting in January 2006, just a few months before the marine pollution incident in the Eastern Mediterranean that affected so heavily Lebanon and Syria happened. So in light of that, Frédéric, will you share with us your experience with that particular incident, but also in general terms on how REMPEC contributes to the management of emergency situations in the Mediterranean Sea? Please.
Good. Okay, thank you. Yes, I think that Jan Dussek has already elaborated a little bit on this, because I think first we received a direct request from the Lebanese authorities, a request which was, REMPEC, please assist us, and we want some people from REMPEC in Lebanon to assist us in, I will say, the response to the event. There were also many other crises at that time in Lebanon, and I will say that we took our place, I will say, quite smoothly in the overall response to the various emergencies. The response was coordinated at the international level by UNEP-OCHA, and as far as the response to the spill was coordinated, REMPEC, as the regional sea competent activity center, took its place in this response. We were in a position to prepare with our network of partners, which many of them are still there in the room, CEDRE in France, IPECA, OSRL, the IOPC funds, ITOP, all these people, we joined forces together in order to try to address what has to be done when it could be possible to do something. And we also put in action what Jean-Claude has set up some years before, this Mediterranean Assistance Unit, sending on-site experts to assess the situation and try to draft some response. In response to the request of the Lebanese authorities, we sent also an expert who is also today with us, a previous REMPEC project officer, Mr. Darko Domovic, with us today. And so he was able to not only assist the Lebanese authorities in giving them some indication of what to do in terms of technical response, but it was also liaising with another UN agency, UNDP, in order to assist in drafting the specification, technical specification for the public tendering for the international assistance. So, from our side, in the back office at REMPEC, we were, I would say, assisting by centralizing the information and giving all the contracting parties a day-to-day update of what is going on and what are the needs and the requests of the Lebanese authorities. So I think that in that specific occasions, the system which has been put in place since 1976, I demonstrated its real value and its efficiency. We have to be realistic also there, because as you know, REMPEC is a very small team of people, and REMPEC has never been created to be a response center. REMPEC is there to facilitate the coordination. We have a well-established network of focal points in all the countries. We have also a well-established network of people knowing what is the response activities in the industry and also some other organization. So we say, the regional gateway to access this resource, and also through our linkage to the IMO to access the IMO resources. So for me, this was an effective demonstration of the added value of a regional center as REMPEC. And we have received a lot of support. As I said, REMPEC is a very small organization. We have been under quite an extensive pressure because these operations lasted for some time, and we have received some support from various organizations, the Canadian administration, the UK Maritime Coast Guard Agency, and also through the European Union. We also receive a project officer from EMSA for some time. So I think it's a good show also of this international assistance and how we could work better in the future. So with that, I will leave there. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Frederic. Last in chronological order is Jonathan Pace. Jonathan was Deputy Executive Director in the Merchant Shipping Directorate at the Malta Maritime Authority before joining REMPEC in 2002. At REMPEC, he was responsible for activities related to the prevention of pollution from ships, in particular through the implementation of several projects and programs such as the Global Ballast Water Management Program. He is now at IMO headquarters responsible for the Technical Cooperation Division. And Jonathan, will you spend the next 4 or 5 minutes talking about what you see as the role of REMPEC is in terms of development, implementation and coordination of projects, which are of course very relevant to the discussion that we are having this afternoon. Please.
Thank you, Gaetano. First of all, I should say I'm honored to be on this panel with such an eminent team of former directors of the center. To do justice to history, I must say that I had only a short spell as head of REMPEC, although this was during a very critical period for the center when the recent necessary restructuring of the center took place. But to reply to your question, Gaetano, it is indeed a fact that during the second half of REMPEC's existence, the development, coordination and implementation of externally funded projects played a crucial part in REMPEC's remit of building the capacities of the Mediterranean coastal states for the prevention of preparedness for and response to marine pollution from ships. I should say that the externally funded projects came also very handy when the core funding of the center started deteriorating due to various reasons, particularly the global financial crisis that we experienced some time ago. REMPEC's experience, as was stated before, with the implementation of projects started under the directorship of Mr. Jean-Claude Sanlot, and was further strengthened during the term of Admiral Patruno as director of REMPEC, and was of course continued then under the directorship of Frédéric Hebert, and still continues today under the headship of Gabino. The first experience in terms of projects was the implementation of 4 European Union LIFE projects, which were implemented by the Center in the field of preparedness for and response to marine pollution. Jean-Claude has already referred to 2 of those projects relating to the sub-regional contingency plan in the East Mediterranean. And they were coupled with another project to build the response capabilities of the countries involved in the sub-regional plan, as well as another project to build the capacities of the Republic of Syria, and a smaller project related to risk assessment in the ports of Mersin and Iskenderun in Turkey. But indeed, the major projects which the Center implemented followed in the years after. Firstly, through the implementation of an EU-funded MEDA project on port reception facilities in the Mediterranean, which was implemented between 2002 and 2004 during Admiral Pastruno's tenure as director. And the successful implementation of this project led to the European Commission to directly task REMPEC with the implementation of 2 larger projects in the field of prevention of pollution of ships. This was at the time following the adoption of the new Prevention and Emergency Protocol of 2002. And I'm referring to these 2 SafeMed projects which were implemented during the period 2004-2012. I would say that the success story in the implementation of these projects led REMPEC to being an implementation partner for both regional and global projects. You mentioned in your introduction REMPEC's role as a regional implementing partner in the Mediterranean for the Global Ballast Partnerships project, which built capacities of countries around the world to prepare themselves for the implementation of the Ballast Water Convention, which has recently achieved the necessary ratifications and which will enter into force next year. Finally, to conclude, I should say that the project led to tangible, concrete results, not only in the region, but also specifically in some of the countries which benefited from these problems. I would just cite 2 concrete examples resulting from this project, the first being the information system on maritime traffic flows in the Mediterranean, which was the result of the SafeMed project, and also the entry into force of the Mediterranean Sea being a special area for the purposes of Annex 5 of the MARPOL Convention, which regulates the prevention of pollution from garbage, which was a direct result of the implementation of the port reception facilities project implemented between 2002 and 2004. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Jonathan, and thank you, colleagues. Fortunately, we have a very short time, and as you said, Jean-Claude, we would need the whole afternoon probably to talk about these things. But I think together with the statements that we heard from ministers and representatives of countries, I think the relevance, the continued importance of REMPEC and of its impact on the Mediterranean is certainly confirmed. And I want to say that in this phase of further development and strengthening of the MAP system and the Barcelona Convention, the REMPEC will continue to have a very, very important role. And this is within what we see an integrated way of delivering our mandate. REMPEC will develop a number of activities in the near future, or has been developing a number of activities. And I just want to mention in the fields, in addition to its traditional, of course, type of intervention, interventions, for instance, non-indigenous species, through the work on ships' ballast water management, marine litter, working on management of waste in port reception facilities and marinas, marine protected areas and particularly sensitive sea areas, maritime spatial planning through the work of REMPEC on ships routing systems, control of maritime traffic, and finally on information dissemination and prospective. All these fields are in coordination and integration with the other regional activity centers, the other components of the UNEP map system. So in conclusion, I'd like to thank you all for giving us this snapshot of almost 30 years out of the 40 years when you have been leading the REMPEC. We have much to learn from you. I'm sure we will be in contact soon to help us in continuing steering the way REMPEC can successfully implement its mandate. So thank you again very much, and thank you again, Honorable Minister, for your kind introduction.
Thank you very much. So, as announced by the chairperson, Chairman, the Honorable Minister Vella, we have now a second session which will be divided in two, basically from a logistical point of view, since we have 6 seats on the table. So the first session will be the two sessions will be dealing with the partnership with REMPEC, as we've heard from the previous director, and the intervention from the countries. The cooperation, synergies, and collaborations are key words which come regularly in the mouth of whoever speaks about REMPEC. We will, in the next session, which will be the last session before the end of the event, we'll have first 5 persons coming to speak about the relation with REMPEC from an institutional, international, regional, and sub-regional point of view. So I will invite the following member of the panel to come to the floor. Mr. Marco Mili, Mr. Thomas Liebert, Mrs. Elda Belja, Mrs. Monika Stankiewicz, and Mrs. Anne Visio. So we will start with our first panelist for this session, Mr. Thomas Liebert, which is on your left, who have been working for over 4 years for development non-governmental organization in France. Spent then 2 years at the International Maritime Organization, and occupied various managerial positions at Oil Spill Response Limited for over 7 years, prior to joining the International Oil Pollution Compensation Fund, IOPC, as head External Relation and Conference Department in 2010. So whilst recalling the 4 panelists that we have a very limited time, as we've given the necessary time for the previous panelists and the countries to express their experience and their need for the future. I hope you will stick with the limited time available. So Thomas, could you provide us some inputs concerning liability and compensation regime in the Mediterranean, and identify gaps which would potentially be filled through a cooperative approach between IOPC, REMPEC, and the contracting parties to the Barcelona Convention?
And all of this in 2 minutes.
2 minutes.
Right, okay. Well, so first of all, to say that I'm very honored to be here in this celebration. REMPEC is indeed, has been a long-standing partner of the IPC Fund, or maybe I should say that the IPC Fund has been a long-standing partner of REMPEC, supporting your endeavors to improve preparedness and response in this region. If we look at statistics, numbers, just to remind people that may not be completely aware, the regime of compensation for oil spills from tankers is made of 2 conventions and a protocol. So there's a first level, a second level, and a third. And when we look at the general regime, which is the regime of the CLC and fund, we have worldwide 114 member states. And here in the region, out of the 21 countries forming the region, we have 19 of them, 19 that have adopted the CLC convention, the first layer, 17 that have adopted the 92 fund, the second layer, and 9 that have adopted the supplementary fund, which is the top layer, which is an optional type approach to get really the maximum compensation. So in terms of numbers, we get about 20% of the total membership of the IPC fund is made of Mediterranean states. And in number itself for the region is not bad, because we only have 2 states that have only the CLC convention, and that is Lebanon and Egypt. And for the 2 states that have nothing at all, we're talking about Bosnia-Herzegovina and Libya. And I think I already had a chance to speak to the Libya representative, and I'll be happy to speak to the Bosnian one later on to see how we can work together via REMPEC to improve on that situation. If we look at incidents, the fund has been paying about £600 million in compensation since its creation in '78. We've dealt with 149 incidents. If we look at the Mediterranean region, we have about 10 incidents that were reported to the IPC funds in the last 38 years. In Algeria, Greece, Italy, Morocco, Spain, so it's quite spread around the region. But really, only one of them had been a very significant one. It was the Heaven in Italy in '91, which led to a payment of about £30 million in compensation. And overall, we've paid about £40 million, 40, in this region. So in comparison, this region has been quite protected from incidents involving tankers, which is a good thing. But of course, it is partly due to prevention. And it doesn't stop the fact that prevention, or preparedness and response rather, needs to be really continuous, because the traffic in the region is there, it's increasing. So you have the risk is present. It didn't transform into a number of incidents in this region, but preparedness remains critical. When it comes to what can be done in terms of cooperation, really for us, it's not so much the number of conventions that we have in countries or the number of ratification, it's the implementation of it. Has those conventions been properly implemented in national law? Are countries ready to use the system if there is an incident? And that is our top priority as an organization. And with REMPEC, we think that we can cooperate on those grounds. Workshops, regional activities that can help, of course, providing information, but also concentrating on, have you checked your legislation? Can we work together on verifying that the legislation that you have in place is compliant with the current version of the system? But beyond that, of course, dissemination of information remains important. It's one of your axes of work. So contributing to a current document that you're preparing for offering assistance in case of incidents, we're happy as an organization to contribute. We've been working recently with another regional organization, PERSGA, to translate our conventions and some other claims guidelines in Arabic. We'll make that available very soon to REMPEC for your own use with your countries that are using Arabic as a main language. So there are many ways that we can cooperate, and we're just there available, you know where we are. And that is the key message that I want to deliver. You're pretty well covered, but there's more to do in implementation, and we'll be happy to support in that. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Thomas, for this summary of compensation regime in the Mediterranean region, and for offering the scope for the future. And I will definitely follow your your recommendation and assist as much as we can together with you, the countries in the region. So the next intervention is from Mrs. Elda Belja. She's a member of the Chamber of Advocates of Albania since 2006 and was employed at the Maritime Transport Department of the Albanian Ministry of Public Work, Transport and Telecommunication. She's currently working as a full-time lecturer and admission officer at the IMO International Maritime Law Institute. And Mrs. Belja, I'm addressing a question to you. Could you kindly present within 2 minutes the existing cooperation between IMLI and REMPEC and share your thoughts on possible area of activities where we could further collaborate to support the efforts of the Mediterranean coastal states in the implementation of international and regional legal instruments and in their transposition in the national law, in particular considering the valuable knowledge of your institution in maritime law and the numerous dissertations prepared by your students, which include also brilliant Mediterranean lawyers and practitioners.
Well, thank you. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. On behalf of the IMO International Maritime Law Institute and especially Professor David Attard, who is the director, I would like to congratulate REMPEC first and foremost on its 40 years of vital contribution to the member states, to the Barcelona Convention, and to the protection of the Mediterranean Sea. For those of you that may not be familiar with the institution, IMLI was established in 1988, just 12 years after REMPEC, as an international center for the training of specialists in maritime law. It contributes to the development and dissemination of knowledge and expertise in international maritime law, with special focus on the international regulations and procedures for safe, secure, and efficient shipping and the protection of marine environment. We place a particular focus on the development of drafting techniques, teaching techniques for the incorporation and implementation of international instruments into domestic legislation. The first, IMLI and REMPEC, have had a very fruitful cooperation over the years, and the first area of cooperation came into the funding that was provided through the EU funds that were actually implemented and administered by REMPEC to candidates that were hailing from the Mediterranean countries, partners of the EU and member of the EUs and non-member of the EUs, but they were partners. And through the expertise of REMPEC and through the knowledge of the necessity of these countries to develop the capacity building and to enhance their administration, funds were provided for their training at the Institute's Master of Laws program. You mentioned something very important. The Institute devotes an important part of its syllabus to the protection of the marine environment, whereas it is in areas of prevention or it is in areas of cooperation, response, and response or limitation, liability and compensation. And in order for the candidates who were trained at IMLI that were hailing from the member states of the Barcelona Convention, it was mandatory for the students to be able to identify the challenges that the country was facing, and their dissertation or drafting project would focus indeed on a convention that will fulfill the mission of REMPEC and will also contribute to the development of the legal infrastructure of their country for the protection of marine environment. Another area of contribution that has been found very, very important to us is through the lecturing that REMPEC's officers have done through the years at the International Maritime Institute, whether it has been the former directors that actually graced this panel before or your good self. You have come and contributed to impart knowledge in the areas of, for example, OPRC Convention, OPRC HNS. You have given a real example of the Mediterranean, and Mr. Patch has been instrumental, for example, in sharing knowledge in ballast water management and the protection from invasive species. We are very grateful for your contribution to the IMLI manual on international IMLI Manual on International Maritime Law, which is published by the Oxford University Press. Mr. Hebert and your good self contributed with a chapter entitled Conventions Relating to Pollution Incident, Preparedness, Response and Cooperation. Definitely the experience has shown that the partnership between IMLI and REMPEC has contributed to develop capacity in many countries in the Mediterranean. And perhaps it is this area that we should focus, and this is where the cooperation should continue. It stopped in 2012 because there were no funds available, but if funds are available, as Mr. Patch very rightly pointed out before, under the SafeMed project, there was a valuable contribution to the Mediterranean countries. And I would like to invite the responsible authorities and organizations, perhaps the EU, to continue and consider this development, because the member states to the Barcelona Convention can benefit greatly from the training at IMLI, and as explained, it will be also mandatory for those candidates who come and are trained that they focus on the protection of the environment, and their research will actually fulfill the mission of IMLI, their country, and of course of REMPEC. And IMLI is growing. It has different programs, whether it is an LLM, Master of Laws, or Master of Humanities. They are all aimed in training specialists in the area of maritime law, and I think that we can make a valuable contribution, as it was evidenced and as it was shown in the past, where 14 lawyers were trained at IMLI, hailing from various Mediterranean countries. And of course, we'll always be grateful if our cooperation continues and REMPEC officers continue to come and share their experience and lecture at IMLI and impart their knowledge. As it was pointed out before, the REMPEC has set a role model and example, and it is very important for the IMLI students who hail from all over the world to take back this experience when they go to their countries, to their region, and implement the REMPEC experience in their regions. Thank you. Congratulations once again.
Thank you very much for your intervention and for your proposal for the future and continuation of the existing cooperation. Our next panelist is a family member of the UNEP Regional CIS program, together with the Barcelona Convention and other regional conventions. Mrs. Monika Stankiewicz, since 2011, is the Executive Secretary of the Baltic Marine Environment Protection Commission, known as ELCOM, which is the governing body of the Convention on the Protection of the Marine Environment of the Baltic Sea Area, known as the Helsinki Convention. Between 1998 and 2006, Monika worked in the environmental sector of the Polish public administration before joining the professional secretary of ELCOM for maritime affairs between 2006 and 2011. Monika, the next question is for you, and from a regional agreement perspective, could you share your experience with REMPEC and highlight the difference on how your region tackled issues relating to protection of marine environments, with focus on activities related to prevention of pollution from ships, and could, within the very limited time available, also share your views on possible way forward to strengthen synergies between our region for the benefits of our respective contracting parties.
Thank you, Gabino. Mr. Minister, distinguished delegates, ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon to you all. First of all, I would like to congratulate REMPEC for the 40th anniversary, and thank you for inviting me to join your celebrations. I can say, dear friends in the Mediterranean Sea, HELCOM and REMPEC share the same goal. We need to assist our contracting parties in early ratification and harmonized implementation of global conventions. And during the 4 decades of our work, I think we have demonstrated the added value of regional action for clean shipping, and thus the advanced or improved status of the marine environment. And specifically regarding MARPOL Convention, I would like to bring some examples of HELCOM work. Last spring, IMO decided on enforcement dates for the Baltic Sea Special Area under Annex 4 of MARPOL, regarding sewage discharges from passenger ships. And then within a month, IMO will decide on a proposal by the Baltic Sea countries, HELCOM countries, to designate our sea as a NOx emission control area in parallel with the North Sea. And while we have to await the outcome of MEPC later during this year, I can say that with these two single measures, when implemented, shipping will do their share to fight the biggest environmental problem in the Baltic Sea, which is eutrophication. And this is a powerful message to be conveyed to activate more concrete actions in other fields too. And I think both of us, HELCOM and REMPEC, can do better to show these positive examples and added value of our regional work and cooperation with IMO as an example of good governance, of progress and contribution of clean shipping towards sustainable development goals. But what opportunities the future will bring? Last spring, our patience has been awarded with the breaking news about Finland, one of the HELCOM countries ratifying the Ballast Water Management Convention. Both of our organizations have worked during the last 10 years to put in place some interim and interregional measures for early implementation of the convention, and we can build on this experience and join forces also in the future, utilizing also IMO Ballast Water Partnership to share these experiences worldwide. And lastly, after a 5-year break, HELCOM is again engaged in risk assessment. We have received funding from the European Union for a new project called Open Risk. The aim of the project is to enable more regular regional risk assessments for the purposes of pollution response and preparedness, and based on a transparent and freely available methodology. And we seek cooperation with REMPEC in this regard. You have a massive experience to share, and this is in order to make the outcomes of the project relevant to all of us. So I would like to wish you, REMPEC, many more decades of successful cooperation, and I'm looking forward to new partnerships with you in the future. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Monica, and we look forward to starting this Open Risk project in your cooperation and also with some of our partners which have the knowledge on these risk assessments. I will now introduce Madame Anne Vissot from Ramoge, who is the Secretary Executive of the Ramoge Agreement, with an instrument of cooperation of science, technical, juridic and administrative aspects, where the French, Monegasque and Italian governments have implemented are implementing those actions for the integration. Actually, I'm sorry for this, but I'm translating a French which I have on my fiche. So, from your experience, Anne Vissot, and also noting the celebration of the 40th anniversary of the agreements on the 26th of April 2006 during a ceremony which was organized in Monaco. Could you underline in few words what were the key success elements of your sub-regional agreements, and how could we explore further possible cooperation to make use of this experience in the region? We heard from the Monegasque representative the proposition to create a bridge between Ramoge and REMPEC. So, as executive director, the question is now addressed to you. Thank you.
Oui. En ce qui concerne donc les événements marquants de l'accord Ramoge, donc il y a 40 ans, C'était d'abord une prise de conscience donc, des 3 pays, la France et l'Italie et Monaco, qu'il fallait coopérer pour mener des actions communes pour protéger et préserver la Méditerranée. Dans un premier temps, c'était des actions scientifiques, de faire un bilan sur le milieu marin. Donc c'était des études qui ont conduit par la suite à accélérer justement la construction des unités de traitement des eaux usées. Et par la suite, donc, ça a continué aussi sur des problématiques communes. Donc sur une zone restreinte, c'est la région Ligurie en Italie, Monaco et la région Provence-Alpes-Côte d'Azur en France, sur des problématiques qui sont vraiment communes aux 3 régions, notamment donc, sur la préservation de la biodiversité avec le problème de la Posidonie, de la préservation de la Posidonie, le problème des mouillages actuellement qui est de plus en plus, enfin la plaisance est de plus en plus intense. Et ensuite donc aussi nous avons la problématique des déchets. Ça c'est sur le plan scientifique et technique. Et ensuite donc à partir de 1992, je crois que c'était l'incendie sur le Haven au large de Gênes, qui a créé quand même un groupe, une volonté de créer un groupe de travail pour la lutte anti-pollution. Et suite à ça, a été rédigé le plan d'intervention de lutte contre les pollutions italo-franco-monégasque, qui permet de coordonner les moyens et qui permet d'appeler les moyens des pays à venir lutter contre un accident de pollution. Et ce qui suppose donc que ce plan est régulièrement mis à jour, qu'il y a des rencontres régulières et que par ailleurs, tous les ans, il y a un exercice, soit un exercice d'état-major, soit un exercice en mer avec les moyens, ce qui permet donc d'entraîner les équipes à travailler ensemble et à coordonner leurs actions et être plus efficaces. Ensuite, vous m'avez posé une seconde question pour qu'est-ce qu'on peut... Je pense que cet accord est intéressant, qu'il est petit, mais que quand même il a 40 ans et il a quand même montré son efficacité. Et peut-être on peut essayer de le dupliquer. Alors il y a l'accord en soi, et puis il y a aussi ce plan d'intervention qui peut être aussi dupliqué. Et là, c'est vrai que je pense que par l'intermédiaire du REMPEC, ça serait une belle occasion de pouvoir coopérer et apporter notre expérience à ceux qui veulent coopérer. Et je crois qu'il y en a beaucoup qui veulent le faire. Voilà. Moi, je remercie le REMPEC, bien sûr.
Merci beaucoup, Anne, pour votre intervention. And this closes this first part of the session with the partners. And I will now call the second part. Thank you very much for your interventions, Mr. Rob Cox, Mr. Miguel Patel, Mr. Stefan Doll, Mr. Renato Frigerio, Dr. Giovanni Copini, and Mr. Vincent Attards. And I'm looking at the time. We are. 1 minute. If we can. We can reduce. I'm looking at the minister who was kept and stayed with us during all this time, and it's remarkable for him to have made his afternoon available. And I wish to continue on this to conclude. Before we conclude, so we join the final part of the event. So, Rob, you're technical director of the Global Oil and Gas Industry Association for Environmental and Social Issues, IPICA, which is based in London. You have over 25 years of international petroleum industry experience, including 15 years with Chevron in Africa, the Middle East, and the United States. The question I'm addressing to you is, how would you define from the oil and gas industry point of view the interaction between governments and authorities and private sectors in the region to minimize the risk of pollution from oil and gas industry, shipping, oil handling facilities offshore, and how do you foresee a strengthened partnership in the context of the IMO IPCA global initiative?
Thank you, Gabino. This is a really good question. I could talk for hours on this, but I promise I will do it in 1 to 2 minutes. You know, we've talked a lot about shipping today. There has been a mention of the offshore activities, but we primarily, and you'll see it on the screen, we're talking about cooperation in the Mediterranean to prevent and combat marine pollution from ships. And if you look at the IMO's vision, mission, safe, secure, and efficient shipping on clean oceans, okay? As an industry, we promote oil spill reduction primarily through prevention, but we do recognize the necessity for developing and maintaining preparedness. In my opinion, it all comes down to the OPRC Convention. The convention calls for cooperation between all the stakeholders and invites the oil, the shipping, the port industries, etc., to address their risk. But frequently, we overlook the fact that the OPRC Convention also covers all marine risks, including those from offshore units and pipelines. In this, REMPEC and UNEP-MAP in particular are really, really critical because the IMO is to some extent constrained by its remit when addressing offshore facilities. The Mediterranean Offshore Protocol recognizes and strengthens the need for holistic oil spill planning, and it's absolutely critical that UNEP, IMO, EMSA, the EU, REMPEC, and ourselves, the private sector and industry, continue to cooperate and coordinate to build capacity to cover all the risks, whether it's from shipping or from the offshore. You know, we've done a lot in the last 5 years to build a different type of response thinking since the 2010 Deepwater Horizon incident. But we're now on the back end of the curve. And when the last major incident starts to fade from public consciousness, we must still remain really vigilant in terms of prevention and cooperation to make sure that this beautiful sea, the Mediterranean Sea, is protected from oil spills. And in times where it's not considered to be a threat, climate change, I can't get anyone to talk about anything other than climate change at the moment. Yes, climate change is important, but so are oil spills. And we must really concentrate on prevention, protection, and cooperation. And that was the original mandate of OPRC. So I'll just close there, and I'll just close by saying, if we ever have doubts about what we need to do, go back to OPRC, go back to basics, it's all in there. Okay.
Thank you very much, Rob, for this very clear intervention. I'd like to now introduce Mr. Miguel Patel, who is Senior Technical Advisor at ITOF. Since he joined ITOF, Miguel has attended numerous ship source pollution incidents internationally, including spill of bunker fuel, crude oil, HNS, and solid bulk cargoes. As part of ITOF technical advisory role, Miguel has provided assistance on cleanup technique, environment monitoring, and claim and compensation following spills in Europe, Africa, South Africa, and Asia. Now, Miguel, I trust you would support me by saying that ITOF and REMPEC has been collaborating for decades in the Mediterranean region through technical cooperation activities relating to capacity building, contingency planning, technical advice, and on chemical and oil spill response on site or from your headquarters during peacetime as well as emergency situations. Could you share your experience as a key partner of REMPEC and how this cooperation has contributed to reducing major spill in the region and strengthen the level of preparedness of the individual coastal states in the region?
Certainly, thanks, Gabino. And good afternoon, distinguished delegates. Well, having been with ITOF over the past 5 years, I can certainly remember a number of occasions when ITOF and REMPEC have worked together to assist member states during pollution emergencies, as well as to improve preparedness and response during peacetime. In actual fact, the first exchange between ITOF and REMPEC dates back a bit before my time, the 3rd of May in 1977, when discussions were held between the Regional Oil Combating Centre and ITOF on the accident database and the development of a route diagram for the Mediterranean. The cooperation continued thereafter. For example, in 1979, the EEC contracted ITOF to carry out a study on the need for measures to enhance cooperation and effectiveness of oil spill response capacity in member states and liaise with REMPEC to obtain information on Mediterranean countries. In 1981, ITOF offered its technical information papers to the ROCC for dissemination in the region, as well as during the Medipol 83 event organised by the Centre. All in all, in terms of project work, ITOF has participated in 41 events organised by REMPEC, the majority of which were related to providing support for training courses on preparedness and response to spills of oils and chemicals. ITOF has regularly assisted REMPEC in reviewing national contingency plans of its members, as well as the development of sub-regional contingency plans like that of Cyprus, Egypt and Israel in the mid-90s. We have also participated in specific projects such as the development of the Maritime Integrated Decision Support Information System and the Western Mediterranean Region Marine Oil and H&S Pollution Cooperation Project. In fact, ITOF regularly attends focal point meetings to reiterate our commitment to assist REMPEC and its member states in the implementation of its projects. From a more practical and operational point of view, ITOF and REMPEC have cooperated during a number of oil spill incidents in the Mediterranean. For example, in 1991, ITOF assisted REMPEC during the Haven incident and assisted with some of the cost recovery as a liaison between REMPEC and the P&I Club. Other incidents that brought ITOF and REMPEC together include the Giroy-Chernomoya spill in '92, as well as the Nasir and Shipbroker incident in '94. We were also involved in the Eastern Mediterranean incident in 2006. Overall, strong links and significant collaboration have prevailed over the years, due in part to the importance of the Mediterranean as a transit area for oil and other goods. ITOF can only praise the sterling work carried out by REMPEC on behalf of its member states over the last 40 years in enhancing regional cooperation, promoting prevention of and preparedness to pollution incidents in the Mediterranean, and of course assisting its member states during actual emergencies. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We'll switch to French, so I won't translate this card again. For Cèdre, Monsieur Stéphane Doll, vous êtes depuis le 1er mars 2016 le directeur du Centre de documentation, de recherche et d'expérimentation sur les pollutions accidentelles des eaux, connu sous le nom de Cèdre. Vous avez travaillé auparavant dans la construction de la réparation de navires de taille moyenne et également au Centre d'expertise pratique de lutte anti-pollution, connu comme le CEPOL. Stéphane, si je ne me trompe pas, le Cèdre est bien administré, entre autres, par les représentants de l'État français, du secteur public et privé, et comme pour l'Italie, à travers l'ISPRA, sous la tutelle du ministère de l'Environnement, votre gouvernement, par le biais de l'unité d'assistance méditerranéenne, soutient le mécanisme d'assistance et de coopération régionale. À cet égard, pourriez-vous illustrer par un exemple concret le rôle qu'a joué le Cèdre lors de l'activation de l'assistance méditerranéenne, l'unité d'assistance méditerranéenne, et quels sont, d'après vous, les avantages de cet accord et comment ce réseau d'experts peut être renforcé? Merci.
Merci Gabino. Je suis très heureux d'être parmi vous aujourd'hui pour fêter cet événement important qu'est le 40e anniversaire du REMPEC, et d'autant plus heureux que le Cèdre, partenaire du REMPEC depuis l'origine, s'approche lui aussi de cette date anniversaire des 40 ans. Nous n'avons plus que 2 ans à attendre, puisque le Cèdre a été créé en 1978 après le naufrage de la Moco Cadiz. Alors, pour répondre à la question posée, le board du CEDRE est effectivement composé de 3 groupes. Un groupe avec des représentants de l'État, un groupe du secteur public comprenant notamment la plupart des institutions et des groupes scientifiques et de recherche français. Et le 3e groupe c'est un groupe qui provient du secteur privé avec de nombreux industriels. Pendant plus de 35 ans, le CEDRE a vécu de nombreuses périodes de calme ou d'action, tout comme le REMPEC. Et en amont de pollution, nous permettant de travailler sur la préparation à l'action, mais également en période de crise, lors d'accidents que vous connaissez tous. Et je dois dire que cette composition tripartite du board du CEDRE a été un point fort sur lequel mes prédécesseurs ou moi avons pu nous appuyer grandement et constamment lors de chaque événement. Pour revenir dans le concret et évoquer un exemple, je vais prendre l'exemple du rôle joué par le CEDRE lors de l'activation de la MAU à travers le REMPEC en 2006. Cette année-là, nous avons été mobilisés lors du déversement d'hydrocarbures sur les côtes du Liban. Et dans ce cadre-là, nous avons envoyé 5 conseillers, 5 experts, si vous voulez, du CEDRE, qui sont intervenus et restés sur place pendant environ 3 mois ou un peu plus de 3 mois, afin d'y apporter une expertise pour lutter contre la pollution. Et j'ai entendu tout à l'heure, avec grand plaisir, que ce qui avait été fait à l'époque avait eu un excellent retentissement. Donc moi, directeur, j'en suis très fier de mes équipes. Alors les avantages de cet accord, je pense que cet accord nous permet de travailler ensemble et donc de se connaître en amont de l'action. Et ça, c'est un élément qui est extrêmement important pour moi, voire indispensable. Le fait de se connaître avant l'action, on a du temps pour se découvrir, pour parler ensemble, pour comprendre comment nous travaillons, et ça facilite beaucoup les choses lorsque nous sommes en temps de crise, parce que nous n'avons pas à prendre cette partie-là. Et comment renforcer ce même réseau d'experts ? Eh bien, je vais reprendre ce que je disais tout à l'heure, en poursuivant nos échanges, nos rencontres, les formations que nous faisons en commun et les entraînements et les exercices communs. Voilà. Ça me paraît quelque chose sur lequel on peut travailler et continuer à progresser dans l'avenir. Je vous remercie et bon anniversaire au REMPEC.
Merci beaucoup, Monsieur Doll. Notre prochain intervenant, Monsieur Renato Frigherio, I'll switch to English, is HSE Manager of BSF Italy, SPA, and Chairperson of the Transport Emergency Service Committee, known as SET, of Federchimica, which is the Federazione, the National Federation of the Chemical Industry. He is also part of the Mediterranean Assistance Unit family and of the ICE network, which is the Intervention in Chemical Transport Emergency of the European Chemical Industry Council. Mr. Frigherio, could you describe your relation with REMPEC in few words within the current arrangement and highlight some potential area of cooperation still unexplored to support Mediterranean countries to face challenges related to chemical spills?
Yeah, thank you a lot, Mr. Gonzalez. So some notes about Federchimica. Federchimica and REMPEC are cooperating in the Mediterranean Assistance Unit since 2004. The cooperation was born because Federchimica has managed since 1998 the Italian Center of the European Intervention in Chemical Transport Emergency, ICE network, promoted by CEFIC. The Italian center, called SET, so S-E-T, has the purpose of supporting public authorities in chemical emergency during transport of chemicals, providing 3 levels of intervention. Level 1, products information. Technical assistance by phone or on the field, it's the level 2. And the level 3, an emergency team on the accident site. SET, for the Mediterranean Assistance Unit, made support available with 10 experts able to intervene on over 120 UN numbers and covering almost all of the hazard classes of dangerous goods. This is a commitment of the well-known responsible care program. Chemical companies have to continuously improve environment, health and safety, and security too, knowledge and performance of its technologies, processes and products over their life cycles to avoid harm to people and to the environment. And chemical industry works in the field of prevention in order to improve the quickness and organization of their response in case of emergency to contain the potential high damage. In these regards, it will be important to organize, under the supervision of the competent authorities, joint practical exercises that can reassure the countries facing on the Mediterranean Sea on the effectiveness of intervention, as foreseen by OPRC HNS protocol. And our new memorandum of understanding, about to be finalized by Federchimica, will contribute to better prevent and monitor any possible accident of chemicals shipped in the Mediterranean Sea. Thank you.
Thank you very much for your introduction and very concise presentation of Federchimica and our relation. Thank you. Dr. Giovanni Copini, who is our next speaker. Giovanni, you are responsible for the operational oceanography laboratory at the Euro-Mediterranean Center for Climate Change, known as CMCC, in Lecce, which is developing operational oceanography application and managing projects. And you're also officer in charge of the Emergency Response Office of the Mediterranean Operational Network for the Global Ocean Observation System, known as MoonGoose. In this regard, following the signature in 2009 of the first MOU with REMPEC, which has been renewed since then, could you tell us in a nutshell the main achievements of the successful cooperation for the promotion of research program leading to operational tools, and what could we expect for the future, in particular, even hearing some new developments in other areas? Thank you.
Thank you, Gabina. First of all, thanks for the invitation and congratulations for the 40th anniversary. Yes, we started, I'd say, with the Lebanon accidents. This cooperation formalized it in 2009 with the first MOU. MONGOOSE is a network of experts of operational oceanography in the Mediterranean Sea. We count more than 36 institutes all over the Mediterranean countries. I think we can mention three main results. The first one, I would say, is a technological endeavor, a technological effort. We have developed together a network that we call MEDES, is a multimodal oil spill forecasting system that is supporting and will support, hopefully in the future, in case of emergency. So forecasting oil is one part of the emergency response or support to the emergency response. Within this context, we have developed with REMPEC and our expert scientific tool for risk assessment. And I think one lesson learned that we always try to underline is that we aim to transform in practical application our scientific understanding and technological development. So always with a clear focus on the user need, in this case REMPEC, but also of course EMSA and the national authorities of the member states. Second aspect, very successful, has been the joint, or at least our support and cooperation in training and exercise. I think is always very important that we have done it and that we continue in the future, as our colleague from Federchimica was underlying. Last is what we have developed together, what we call emergency support, emergency response office is a virtual network of experts ready to assist the Mediterranean Assistance Unit from REMPEC in case of emergency. So the future, I think, is to enforce our capability in the service provision, so ensure the sustainability of what we have developed based on EU funding and national resources for the future. Maybe make it more user-friendly, I'd say, so that it comes to be more practical in case of emergency, its use. Further develop its coastal component, because yes, it's true that oil spill emergency can be an offshore accident, but often the risk increases a lot when they go to the coast, to the coastal areas, and our capability needs to be further improved for forecasting in the coastal areas. Networking, of course, all the national effort, the European Copernicus effort, and the national effort in ocean forecasting. Risk mapping, it's very important. I think we should take the advantage of the invitation from ELCOM to cooperate in this framework. And of course, we need to enforce further through REMPEC the national cooperation, so the cooperation also at the national level in this framework. Thank you, Gabino, and congratulations.
Thank you, Giovanni. Now the final intervention for this session, and I again thank you for your patience, and but I think the collaboration with all these partners was important to underline in this session. So before the conclusion of this event, I would like to present Mr. Vincent Attard, President of Nature Trust, who is a local non-governmental organization. Vincent became a member of the then called Natural History Society of Malta in 1972 while studying biology, and took various responsibilities in the organization, which evolved over the years together with the scope and its name, which became Society of the Study and the Conservation of Nature in 1974 and Nature Trust in 1999. In 2006, Vincent took his post of Executive President of Nature Trust. Another question is to you. From a point of view of a local NGO, could you tell us more about the experience of Nature Trust Malta with regard to partnership with REMPEC to further enhance the involvement of NGOs and volunteers in the country?
Yes, thank you, Gabino. I think coming from a non-governmental organization that works a lot in terrestrial and marine biodiversity, the cooperation between REMPEC has been very good. We are very grateful for the opportunities having been offered to us by REMPEC with regards to training also on being prepared and being responsive towards an eventual oil spill. Being on an island that has a lot of traffic, especially in the oil industry, one cannot but not be prepared for an incident. We hope we do not need, but one can never say so. The fact that we got this collaboration and we got an exposure over the theory and the practical side of this challenge, should it ever arise, was very good. I mean, going to the center in France, getting trained on a set-up sort of real-time environment of an oil spill was something very challenging. It was no joke. We learned a lot about teamwork, the importance of how to collaborate with each other. The opportunity also offered us a lot of networking, both with other organizations, where we also came in contact with organizations that we realized, for example, could help us in the case of an eventual oil spill, and that there are other organizations who would be prepared then to help us recover costs from an eventual oil spill. So one, you would realize that you are not alone and you would find all support when the time comes. I think the partnership also and the collaboration also put us in contact with also the local authorities like the Civil Protection Department, the Armed Forces of Malta, where we also joined them at the training in Brittany as well. So we work together side by side, and I think it was a good opportunity for us to also get to know each other and how we would work together once we need to. The training was very good, so this led us to further to our collaboration, start training other NGOs and other volunteers in this, how to be prepared. That is, we focused on the assessment of an oil spill, to assist in the cleaning, for example, reporting structures, how things would help out, and also working within our line, that is working with oiled wildlife. So again, the training of de-oiling wildlife was offered in France, which was very interesting for us. And I think this led us to not only train people, but we did 2 sessions so far with volunteers, but it also led us to modifying a project we have soon to take off, which is the Wildlife Rehabilitation Center. This is a project that has found the support of the Maltese government with the Ministry of Sustainable Development, which we hope to start. We modified the plan actually to have the center prepared for an eventual oil spill. After all, it is about being prepared. And the plans have changed, making the center capable of taking such an incident if the need arises. Obviously, I cannot but thank REMPEC for this opportunity. It was something that we benefited a lot. And I wish you and thank you for the 40 years you have been active in this field. And I wish you all success, all future success in the years to come. Hope that more will gain from this partnership collaboration there has been throughout the years. Thank you.
Thank you very much for this intervention. And just to highlight this, this example of cooperation with NGOs in Malta has been also replicated in most of the countries in the Mediterranean region through a project known as POSO, which was funded by the DG ECHO through the European Commission funding mechanism. So thank you all of you for coming to Malta, for your intervention, and I think everybody in the room has had the pleasure to also know what has been the partnership with international, regional, national, private, public sector cooperation with all of you. So thank you very much, and I will now go to thank you very much. I will invite now the Honorable Dr. George Vella to join me after, if he allows me to address some concluding remarks. And first of all, I would like to thank the Excellency, the Honorable Kitaki Lim, Secretary General of IMO, for his participation, but also to note that REMPEC is also supported by not only one representation and funding, but also by a full team which is from the different division, the Marine Environment Division, Technical Cooperation Division, Legal, Administrative, Human Resources. Being administered by IMO means that we have also support from the organization from London. So I'd like to acknowledge this and to thank IMO for its continuous support to REMPEC. I'd like also to thank Mr. Jan Dusic for his participation, and to thank the new Executive Director, Mr. Solijn, for having accepted the invitation of having UNEP with us today. Will not miss the opportunity to thank also Mr. Gaetano Leone for his constant support from UNEP MAP in all our activities, and also in supporting the Mediterranean countries. It has been an immense pleasure and honor to prepare with all your supports the high-level meeting and the launch of the 40th anniversary celebration of REMPEC. We are now reaching the end of this celebration, and I wish to take the opportunity before highlighting some of the main messages noted during this event to thank also in particular the government of Malta, the Honorable Dr. George Vella, Minister for Foreign Affairs, for hosting the center in the beautiful Maltese island, and for having supported this celebration throughout his chairmanship. He has been here from the beginning, and we have the pleasure to have him still here, but also the assistant of his staff during the preparation of this event. I wish also to express my appreciation to the Honorable Mr. Joe Mizzi, Minister for Transport and Infrastructure, for the beautiful reception of yesterday, but also for the excellent relationship and the trust established, which I'm convinced will benefit the entire Mediterranean maritime community, and the Honorable Dr. Jose Herrera, Minister for Sustainable Development, the Environment, Climate Change, for his assistance and the one of its staff when addressing environmental issues in the context of the Mediterranean Action Plan. So a big thank you to all of you. The center, as we've seen, has also been a story of highly motivated and passionate people who, through their administration, organization, or companies, have heavily contributed to the achievements of the center over the past 4 decades. And we had some ideas and nice demonstration of people who have been working through the panelists also who expressed this type of relation. And I wish in particular to thank the former directors and the former head of Office of REMPEC, which have been an inspiration for me and continue to be as well. I would like to also to thank the former and current staff of REMPEC, who I invite together with the former director to stand up and to give the opportunity to the meeting to know who you are behind the scene day and night to support the center to perform at the highest standard. So I would invite you to give a big applause to all the team of REMPEC. So you will have the pleasure to meet them personally. Now you know them from the work, but I think it was an opportunity not to miss to introduce them to you, because they are really giving all the best for the region and for the center. Thank you also to the organizer of the Malta Maritime Summit, the interpreters, and the technicians for the professionalism and their assistance. Allow me, still with your, if you allow me some more time to underline some key notes, key messages which came out of this meeting. I will be very brief. I would like to highlight the importance highlighted for capacity building, exercising. We spoke also about the importance of the transition of the international regional instrument into the national law. We had some addresses very specific with the hope and the objective of having a zero pollution from illicit discharges and in this regard, establishment of a cooperation with the European Coast Guard. We've heard many times and a lot of calls from the governments to have a further work from REMPEC on the offshore protocol and its action plan. And as rightly stated by Rob Cox from IPICA, from a response point of view, it is clearly in the OPUC Convention, it is clearly in the Prevention and Emergency Protocol. However, there is many of other aspects from the offshore protocol and the action plan which are out of the REMPEC mandate, but we are still supporting and strongly, we strongly believe that we have a role to play, but obviously this will require also additional resources and also human capacities with the limited staff available. We've mentioned also marine litters, port reception facilities, pleasure craft, and also I would like to mention that there would be and there is a project ongoing on marine litter with cooperation with MEDPOL and the other components of REMPEC. And in terms of cooperation, there's been a reference to a sub-regional contingency plan. We have an ongoing activity with Cyprus, Greece and Israel. We have the experience with other regions and we had a call from the Adriatic region also to support the extension of the agreements with Albania and Montenegro, and we heard the message and we try to assist in this. Still, in terms of synergies, the call from Ramoj in establishing the bridges between the Ramoj agreements and REMPEC, and I would say also to extend this to the map focal point, to the map. Which has also activities related to Ramoj. And facilitation of cooperation were also referred, and also the call from ELCOM in terms of risk assessment and the new project which is ongoing. There's been also a clear message all through this event and also from the Secretary General of IMO in his opening remarks to reinforce to continue the cooperation between REMPEC, EMSA, IMO, and UNEP-MAP. And we have a lot of issues to work on, and also take this opportunity to highlight with the need of resources, which I've mentioned before, also a current circular which has been sent by IMO to all the member states and which we've sent to our contracting parties for a junior professional officer position at REMPEC, which consists of a secondment of a young professional to REMPEC. So if you're interested in having one of your representatives to join REMPEC and have a few years of experience, you're welcome to submit your application, and they will be all very welcome. So I believe after 40 years, Mediterranean countries and the Center has established a strong relation based on understanding, respect, and trust, and in all circumstances find a way to continue for the continuation of this successful story, which I hope will continue for many more years to come. There is no doubt that the Center has played a crucial role in facilitating coordination, integration, and cooperation, being a crossroad between, on the one hand, the local, national, sub-regional community needs, and in the other hand, the regional and international regime. So not to extend my, my conclusion, and to, before leaving the floor for the closing remark by the Minister Vella, would like just to announce some few logistical aspects which I will invite you when you leave the room to collect a commemorative book which has been produced with the contribution of all the partners which have been involved and invited to participate in this event, and those who could not come also the former directors. So you have there a very nice, I believe, book summarizing our activities, the achievements, and the 40 years of REMPEC. So please take a copy before you leave. And we will also guide you downstairs to have a commemorative photo. So please take a few minutes. We'll take a few more minutes of your time to have a picture downstairs, and then after that you will be able to smoke cigarettes and also join us for the reception near the pool in the level 1. So thanks to all of you for your participation, and happy anniversary to all of you, because REMPEC is you, and we thank you for your time. Thank you. So, Honorable Dr. George Vella, Minister for Foreign Affairs, if you wish to join and have the closure of the high-level meeting. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Excellencies, this brings us to the end of the meeting. Actually, I wasn't planning to stay for the whole session in the hall, but I could not afford losing such an opportunity to listen to such a large amount of accumulated knowledge and experience on the subject of maritime pollution. So I simply had to stay, and I don't regret having spent these few hours with you, because I'm sure that we have all grown more experienced and more knowledgeable about the subject. I must say that today's meeting truly highlighted the importance and the inherent necessity of cooperation. The 40 years anniversary of REMPEC, this event has come at a very timely opportunity to reflect on how cooperation in maritime and environment affairs is the way forward, underpinned by a cross-sectoral and multidisciplinary approach. This afternoon, as I said, we have shared experiences, learned about current projects and activities, and exchanged views as to our future expectations on how cooperation could be further enhanced in the region of the Mediterranean. At this particular point in history, northern and southern Mediterranean states have come together to celebrate United Nations agency consistent and determined mission, which is REMPEC, and REMPEC, through its mandate of preventing and combating marine pollution from ships, exemplifies how cooperation in environment and maritime issues will continue to lie at the forefront of the Mediterranean. It comes as no surprise that working on less contentious issues first, as the marine environment, will pave the way for a more coherent and sustainable path towards intra-regional collaboration in many other sectors beyond the environment. By benevolence of hindsight, 40 years of technical cooperation provided by REMPEC proves this fact and proves this principle. The Government of Malta, as host of REMPEC, is truly indebted to this agency for the important work it undertakes and the dynamism with which it continues to foster the strengths and capabilities in the field of all Mediterranean partners. It was indeed a great pleasure and privilege for me to have been present today to celebrate this occasion, which embodies the success and the achievements of intra-Mediterranean cooperation. True to its Mediterranean vocation and conscious of the responsibility that history and its geographical location have placed on its shoulders, Malta will steadfastly continue to support and reinforce Mediterranean initiatives. We are committed to be an advocate of solid development in the region, taking into account the newly implemented Sustainable Development Goals and the Paris Agreement on Climate Change, all of which give due regard to the manner in which we utilize our natural environment and the impact this could have on our present and on future generations. Throughout the centuries, it was this natural environment that has molded our history, our culture. It shaped us as a people. It is part of our future. Amidst the diversity and the commonalities within the region, the Mediterranean Sea is that which binds us together, and that which makes us truly Mediterranean. We can no longer ignore the state of the natural environment, and we need to show more determination and step up our actions to address the main challenge and the many challenges that surround us. Ladies and gentlemen, as we close today's session, let us congratulate REMPEC for the unfaltering assistance it provided the northern and the southern partners of the Mediterranean for the last 40 years. As host country, we wish REMPEC further success in the near and the distant future. And finally, I would like to thank all of you for participating, the participants, thank the organizers, the moderators, panelists, and also the interpreters, as well as the technical team. I wish you all a safe journey back home, and please do come again to visit us. Thank you very much.